Chapter 9:39. The strength of White Lotus made the frost ape seem to have changed into another beast. Looking at the wailing frost ape hammering its own head again and again, everyone was speechless for a moment. At this time, Wang Feng coughed. If you commit suicide, wouldn't you be unable to take revenge? How about this? I watched the soul beast riot, but you didn't do it willingly. How comfortable is the inner circle in the extreme north? Why would you come out to slaughter humans for no reason, start a war, and even cause your companions to lose their lives? This is definitely not your inner thoughts. Why don't you tell us what happened? We might be able to help you solve the problem of your companions and stop this disaster in time. You can keep your lives, and we humans can also settle down. When everyone heard Wang Feng's words, they thought, is it easy to coax this soul beast? You're right. At this time, the frost ape suddenly stopped committing suicide. The frost ape looked at Wang Feng and carefully sized him up. Human, you helped me recover just now, so you can definitely help our companions recover. You're right. This is indeed not our idea. We're in the inner circle and will only fight with the other overlords. We won't fight with you humans. The soul beasts of the extreme north and humans had always minded their own business. Even human powerhouses rarely entered the extreme north to hunt soul beasts. However, I can't help you either. The frost ape shook its head. Humans are not trustworthy. You saved me, and I can die for you, but don't think I'll tell you anything about us soul beasts. If you take this opportunity to infiltrate us soul beasts and kill our companions, I will become the sinful beast of the extreme north. Damn, you're pretty king principled. Wang Feng's mouth twitched. But don't we have a common enemy now? Tang Xin said slowly. I also have soul beast friends, and not all humans are untrustworthy. You didn't want to invade us humans, but you must have been made like this by others. If this continues, the soul beasts of the extreme north will start a war with us humans. Whether it's you or us, the casualties will increase. The most painful thing is that this is not what you wanted. You're just being used as a weapon to deal with us humans. Are you willing to accept that? After that, Tang Xin glanced at Wang Feng. Wang Fengxin said, it seemed that Xiao San had also learned how to trick people. I can't accept this. The frost ape wiped the blood off its face and said after a moment of silence. Then, Tang Xin glanced at it. I won't say it either. The frost ape shook its head and said, although I have committed a heinous crime, I will atone for it. However, I still can't reveal any information about us soul beasts. As for those who want to use us, I'm not going to tell them anything. I believe that the Azure Emperor will lead many soul beasts to defeat them. We don't need your help. Tang San was speechless. Tang San was speechless as he glared at the frost ape. These soul beasts had very strong willpower. He had clearly been purified by Big Brother Fang's White Lotus into this state, but it was completely impossible for him to obtain any information. However, at this moment, everyone clearly heard a special name from the mouth of the frost ape, Azure Emperor. It seemed that this Azure Emperor was very likely to be one of the 5 overlords of the extreme north. He also seemed to have a lot of prestige as this frost ape spoke highly of him. Only Wang Fengxin said, Azure Emperor should be Qing, right? Not bad. This little fellow really became the Azure Emperor? Wang Fengxin thought to himself. It seemed that the cultivation in the 4 absolutes, the myriad Elephant Valley, had greatly improved those guys. Thinking about it carefully, it had been about 6 to 7 years. However, this old beast's willpower was very strong. Although its heart was purified by the White Lotus, it also strengthened its loyalty and faith to a certain extent. Big Brother Phone, what should we do? Tang Xin glanced at the frost ape. The soul beasts in the extreme north seemed to be very united. Compared to the situation in the Great Stardow Forest, they were more difficult to deal with. Furthermore, from the words of the frost ape, it was obvious that evil soul masters were causing trouble. For a moment, everyone was at a loss. At this moment, Wang Feng suddenly said, you don't trust humans. You are worried that we will deal with the soul beasts of the extreme north after hearing your information. But what if I have a relationship with you soul beasts? To be honest, I have a few soul beast friends. I made them when I was cultivating in the extreme north. Wang Feng smiled. I know all of them. I can gain the friendship of you soul beasts. You could trust me, right? Tang Xin was stunned. Only then did he remember that Brother Feng seemed to have said that he had a few underlings in the extreme north, and they didn't seem to be very strong. Could it be that he could rely on this to make this frost ape let down its guard? I don't believe it. How can the soul beasts of the extreme north make friends with humans? The frost ape looked at Wang Feng suspiciously. Human, you are very powerful. Logically speaking, I should trust you, because you can still help us recover. If you really gain the recognition of other soul beasts, then I will tell you everything I know. Wang Feng smiled and turned the golden lotus in his palm. Look at this. Wang Feng pointed at the golden lotus. Well, this. The frost ape looked at the golden lotus, and its pupils suddenly began to shrink. It pointed at Wang Feng and murmured, You are. Everyone had been watching this scene. Unexpectedly, the situation seemed to have taken a turn for the better. At this moment, when they heard the frost ape suddenly speak, their ears pricked up. What exactly are you? Hurry up and tell us. However, the frost ape finally said, So, it's you. Everyone, Wang Feng withdrew the golden lotus and smiled slightly. Qingqing's forehead had been affected by the power of the golden lotus too many times. After all, there was a mutation. There was also a mark of the golden lotus on her forehead. She had a part of the golden lotus's energy and could release a special aura. In this aura, the potential of soul beasts that stayed by her side for a long time would improve and their combat strength would soar. Now it had probably evolved into a domain. This frost ape knew Emperor Qing, so it must know about the golden lotus mark on Qingqing's forehead. At this moment, he used the golden lotus. This frost ape was not stupid. It must know that the friend of the soul beast mentioned was Emperor Qing. In fact, they were very closely related. All right, I will tell you everything. The frost ape looked at Wang Feng. You are a trustworthy human. Seeing this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were a little curious. It seemed that the white-clothed Popediff had some influence among the soul beasts. Then, the frost ape told Wang Feng everything it knew. It was not complicated. A few months ago, at the other end of the glacier in the extreme north, 5 powerful soul masters came. They captured many soul beasts and used them for experiments. Their methods were extremely cruel. In the end, the 2 overlords of the extreme north attacked in anger. This was because 2 of the captured soul beasts were their subordinates. The 2 overlords were naturally extraordinary when they attacked. They directly killed 3 of the 5 powerful soul masters. However, these 5 evil soul masters weren't easy to deal with. The remaining 2 used some kind of powerful soul skill to extract the blood of the 3 dead soul masters and infect the glacier in the extreme north. As the glacier flowed, countless soul beasts in the extreme north absorbed the water in the glacier because of the sucking. They began to become violent and were even controlled by the 2 evil soul masters. Only a month later, the soul beasts in the extreme north began to riot. The most terrifying thing was that this blood could be continuously infected. Chapter 940. After hearing this news, the 2 autarchs were even more furious. They wanted to find the 2 evil soul masters. However, they fell into a trap by mistake. One of the evil human soul masters even detonated 4 of his soul bones, causing his cultivation to plummet as a price. He managed to infect 2 of the overlords with the blood of the 3 evil soul masters who had died. One of the autarchs used his body to protect the other autarch. However, he was hit by the self-detonation of the 4 soul bones. The 2 evil soul masters retreated in defeat once again. They escaped into the extreme north. However, they controlled many soul beasts that had been infected and started a large-scale riot. On the other side, an autarch was still an autarch. If she lost her rationality and started a riot, the entire extreme north would be plunged into misery and suffering. At the crucial moment, the Azure Emperor made a move and stabilized her injuries. Under her request, she was sealed in ice to prevent her from rioting. However, it was also at this moment The two evil soul masters started to control the riot of soul beasts, which was gradually increasing in scale. They attacked the humans and made the soul beasts kill each other. After hearing this, Wang Feng pondered for a moment. The two autarchs that the Ice Ape was talking about were the Snow Empress and the Ice Emperor. They were the two strongest autarchs in the extreme north. Our boss was furious after knowing that the Snow Empress was attacked. He also wanted to kill the two human soul masters. The Ice Ape shook his head and said, however, he was too rash. The two human evil soul masters were too cunning. They used their martial soul true bodies to disguise themselves as two ordinary soul beasts. They snuck into our territory and defeated our boss in a few moves. They turned him into their puppet. Our subordinates weren't spared either. After hearing this, Wang Feng was stunned. The martial soul true bodies of many bee souls were very similar to real soul beasts. However, they could still blend in with soul beasts. This was a little strong. The Ice Ape's boss was a soul beast that had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. How could he not differentiate between the auras of humans and soul beasts? These two evil soul masters probably don't have human hearts, but the hearts of soul beasts. The Ice Ape said softly, this is why their auras are very similar to soul beasts. In addition to the martial soul, true body soul skills of humans, they are very confusing. I heard that the Ice Emperor and the Snow Empress were tricked. Although our boss is strong, he's not smart. I was fooled as well. Wang Feng, he's definitely an evil soul master. Other than evil soul masters, there weren't many soul masters on the continent who would experiment with body modification. After hearing the story, Wang Feng roughly understood what had happened. Doctor, maybe you can save them and boss. The Frost Ape kowtowed to Wang Feng. Previously, the Frost Ape had spoken to Wang Feng alone. Only this sentence was incomparably loud. Doctor? What the hell was that? I'll try. Wang Feng patted the Frost Ape's shoulder. What the Frost Ape said was only what he knew. The truth had yet to be verified, but at least it allowed Wang Feng to understand what had happened. Big Brother Feng, why'd I call you doctor? Tang Sen asked curiously. Wang Feng coughed a few times. Doctor of Soul Beasts was the title he had left behind in the extreme north. Ching Ching and the others must have spread this name. It's a kind of person who knows more about soul beasts. Wang Feng made up a story. Okay, let's deal with the situation here in Icefield City first. Then we'll stabilize the situation here. As for this Frost Ape, let it atone for its sins in Icefield City. If there are more soul beasts attacking Icefield City, it will try its best to restrain them. At the same time, it will serve as a deterrent. Wang Feng glanced at the Frost Ape. This was its own request, not Wang Feng's. Although it didn't help humans deal with soul beasts directly, it proved that the effect of the White Lotus was very strong. Everyone looked at the Frost Ape with some surprise. No one objected. This Frost Ape's individual strength wasn't very strong, but its significance on the battlefield was very big. In the next few days, Wang Feng led more than 10 titled Douluo and split into two groups. They slowly came with the Emperor Martial Soul Master Legion to stabilize the various cities in the northern part of the continent. Wang Feng even used the power of the White Lotus to purify several powerful soul beasts. Then, he used the same method to get them to tell him the specific situation. In the end, the special information was similar to what the Frost Ape said. When the Emperor Martial Soul Master Legion entered the various cities in the northern border and stabilized the defensive line, Wang Feng left 4 titled Dalu and the Emperor Martial Soul Master Legion to hold the fort. He led 6 titled Dalu to the inner circle of the extreme north. In fact, Wang Feng wanted to go alone, but everyone objected. Helpless, he could only bring a few more. The situation was urgent. Even a titled Dalu couldn't bear to travel for several days. Wang Feng was worried about Ning Rongrong and the others, so he naturally wanted to enter the inner circle as soon as possible. He didn't consume much energy. As for the other titled Dalu, even if Wang Feng used the Golden Lotus to recover their soul power, their spirit was very strong. However, his spirit was completely exhausted and he had consumed a lot of energy. Wang Feng also used the Green Lotus flag to recover their spiritual power along the way. The extreme north. The outer circle. The outer circle was very big, but Wang Feng was still very familiar with it. After all, he had been here for more than 2 years. Compared to 6 or 7 years ago, the temperature in the outer circle was much lower. It was also much more dangerous. However, it wasn't difficult for them to enter the outer circle. Using Tang San's vast sea cosmic shield, they avoided the attacks of many riding soul beasts. Soon, they passed through the inner circle. When they reached the inner circle, they realized how strong it was. There were as many 10,000-year soul beasts as dogs. They weren't everywhere, but there were so many of them that it made one's scalp numb. They even encountered a nest of snowy, 1,000-legged ants. There were dozens of them, and every one of them was 80 to 90,000 years old. Everyone had even seen a 100,000-year soul beast. However, there weren't as many riding soul beasts in the inner circle as compared to the outer circle. Furthermore, the older the soul beasts, the less rioting there would be. The temperature in the inner circle was at least negative a few hundred degrees Celsius. Even the blue-silver grass couldn't grow here. All the plants were related to ice and snow. They were all icy armor jade trees that were extremely resistant to cold. These trees were actually a type of soul beast. Their entire bodies were covered in a thick layer of ice that resembled armor, and their leaves were like pieces of jade essence that appeared like dewdrops. It was a beautiful sight to behold. They formed the forest environment in the inner circle. After Wang Feng entered the inner circle, he sensed the location and situation of the whale shark. Therefore, he wasn't like a headless fly. The only trouble was Ning Rongrong and the others. They weren't in the outer circle, so there was only the inner circle. Moreover, it was reported that the Golden Generation led by Hulaina had also entered the extreme north. They were also the first batch of people from the Martial Soul Alliance to enter the extreme north to investigate the cause of the riding soul beasts. But as long as they found Ching Ching and the others, it shouldn't be difficult to find Rongrong at this moment. As everyone gradually entered the inner circle, a familiar roar suddenly sounded in front of Wang Feng. P.S. I'm a little tired. I'll update 2 times. I'll make up for it with 10 tomorrow. Chapter 941. Within the snowy inner circle, invisible sound waves shook the surrounding ice armor jade spirit trees. Countless droplet-like leaves rustled and fell into the snow before fusing into one. The powerful cold air in the inner circle also surged with the invisible sound waves brought by this roar, shaking the group. After entering the inner circle, other than Tang San and Wang Feng, the other tidal Daw had to channel their soul power to resist the cold air. At this moment, they all stopped when they heard the roar. Wang Feng frowned. This roar sounded like Shen Bing's voice. Most of the trees in the inner circle were dozens of meters tall. Even huge soul beasts couldn't be seen with the naked eye. There's a fierce battle ahead. Tang San stared ahead. With his purple demon eyes, he could vaguely see 2 huge soul beasts fighting. These ice armor jade trees were too big. Not only could they block spiritual power, but they also obstructed vision. I'll go take a look, Zhu Qing whispered. As an agility-type soul master, her speed was faster than a rank 95 tidal Dalu. Although she was only rank 80, her fighting strength was comparable to a normal tidal Dalu. No need. I know what kind of soul beasts are fighting. Wang Feng grabbed her hand. This place was the inner circle of the extreme north. It was too dangerous for one person to go alone. Let's go together. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. This was not the inner circle. Now that the soul beasts were in a riot, the remaining 2 evil soul masters were nowhere to be found, and Rongrong and the others were nowhere to be found. They were also titled Douluo. There was no need for Zhu Qing to go and find out. I'll try, Hu Tian said. I'm a flying-type soul master. With such a huge energy wave, it must be a 100,000-year soul beast. It's not an ordinary 100,000-year soul beast. I'll fly into the sky. I should be able to find out what's going on. The tiger eagle was indeed a very strong, flying-type martial soul. Even if it wasn't a top-tier martial soul, it was very close. Although its name wasn't very outstanding, it was a tiger eagle. It was the descendant of the white tiger and the sky-splitting eagle. Naturally, it was very strong. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a guest elder of the Star Luo Empire's imperial family. No. Wang Feng shook his head and said, "There are strong cold currents in the sky of the inner circle. Even titled Douluo can't handle such cold currents, and they're even more dangerous. If you encounter a powerful flying-type soul beast, your life will be in danger under the effects of this cold current." Yutian looked at the sky. He couldn't see the sun, only a hazy white fog. It did look a little horrifying. Apart from Yutian, there was also Dugubo and Qianjun, who were both powerful titled Dalu. The rest of the titled Dalu were in charge of holding the fort. They guarded the northern border cities with the martial Emperor Legion to prevent any powerful soul beast from attacking. "Listen to Big Brother Phone," Tang Xin said. "Let's just walk over and see what's going on. With our strength, we won't be afraid, even if there's a 100,000-year soul beast. With my vast sea cosmic shroud, they won't be able to detect us so easily." With that, Tang San raised the Neptune's trident in his hand. When he pulled out the Neptune's trident, the vast sea cosmic shroud was integrated into the core of the Neptune's trident. Many skills could only be used with the Neptune's trident. The pale blue light enveloped everyone and blocked the perception of the outside world. However, in the inner circle, the pale blue light was covered with a faint layer of frost. The power of the divine tool was also affected in the inner circle. Wang Feng glanced at the crowd. They nodded and moved forward. Not long after passing through many ice-armored jade trees, they could finally see the scene in front of them clearly. It was a super-large soul beast that was at least 20 meters tall, almost 3 to 4 meters tall. Its whole body was covered with layers of ice armor. Its body was close to a trapezoid, and it gradually became smaller from bottom to top. It stood upright on the ground, and a dazzling ball of icy light was condensed in its hands. An ancient pattern was engraved on its abdomen, symbolizing that this soul beast had an ancient bloodline. In the center of the pattern, a golden lotus vaguely flashed. As the light roared, the earth began to tremble. Countless rampaging soul beasts on the other side were all sealed in ice in an instant, or they would be swallowed by the cracked icicle ground. Everyone's hearts trembled. The tyrannical aura emitted by this soul beast carried an extremely powerful aura. Its back was covered with countless ice spikes, and it looked exceptionally ferocious. Strangely, its eyes gave off an extremely calm feeling. Its large, icy blue eyes were pure and cold as it stared at the countless soul beasts in front of it. It also stared at the largest titan, snow demon ape. "This soul beast is very strong," Tang Xin exclaimed. "It can stop so many soul beasts by itself. Most of these soul beasts are 50 to 60,000 years old. There are more than 1090,000-year soul beasts and 100,000-year soul beast. Is that ape-type soul beast in the middle of the boss of that ice ape?" "It's the Titan Snow Demon Ape," Wang Feng said. "It belongs to the same bloodline as Air Ming, but this Titan Snow Demon Ape lives in the extreme north. Its strength is completely different from Air Ming's." Tang Xin nodded. He could feel the first soul ring of his clear sky hammer throbbing. Perhaps it sensed the aura of its own kind. This Titan Snow Demon Ape was similar in size to Air Ming, but it was taller. Its fur was also the color of ice. Its size was similar to that of the calm ice beast standing upright on the ground. This soul beast cultivation doesn't seem very high. It doesn't seem to surpass the Titan Snow Demon Ape, but it's very strong. It can stop all the soul beasts by itself. Dugubo exclaimed, "Is it a mutated species? Little crazy, what should we do now?" Wang Feng's eyes flashed. Naturally, he recognized the ice beast. At this moment, it seemed to feel that the frozen soul beasts weren't enough. It lifted its huge foot and stomped it into the ground again. Instantly, the icy ground cracked open once more, and the violent soul beasts that were trapped sank into the ground once more. After that, 3 tornado-like icy-colored pillars of light shot out from its mouth, palm, and abdomen. They shot towards the violent soul beasts and the Titan snow demon ape, respectively. Under this icy-colored pillar of light, the frozen violent soul beasts were turned into countless ice sculptures. Then, they were covered by a thick layer of ice. There were 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. The Titan snow demon ape roared furiously. It stretched out its palm and took the icy-colored pillar of light head-on. Its strength was evident. However, at this moment, the ice beast charged towards it. Its huge body was very agile, and it didn't seem bloated at all. Chapter 942. His hands are many times smaller than his body. He clenched his fists, and a ball of intense light appeared. When the Titan snow demon ape received the icy-colored beam of light, Hui Yuhao hammered it in the face. The immense strength sent the Titan snow demon ape flying a few hundred meters away. Roar! Hui Yuhao stomped his feet once again. Streaks of light shot out from his body and spread in all directions. Boundless domain power extended to a radius of 1,000 meters. The Titan snow demon ape rose to its feet in fury. Under its opponent's domain, a tinge of icy blue appeared in its blood-red eyes. However, it was quickly filled with endless blood-red light. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. Although the domain didn't cover them, they could feel how strong it was. "What kind of soul beast is this?" Yu Qian said in a low voice. According to the Frost Ape, isn't the Titan snow demon ape the overlord of the extreme north? It even led so many violent soul beasts, but couldn't defeat this soul beast. Everyone was also surprised and bewildered. At this moment, Wang Feng said, "He's called Bingji Ra. He should be mature now. He's called Bingji Ras, cough cough. He controls the power of earth and ice. His bloodline is very strong. He's not any weaker than the Titan snow demon ape. He was even stronger than Bingji Ra." After 6 or 7 years, Shun Bing was still as cautious as ever. She had truly entered the realm of 100,000-year soul beast. Wang Feng estimated that Bingji Ra's growth in the 4 extremities of the myriad elephant valley would be tremendous. If he could absorb all the energy in the spirit cavern of frozen despair, he might become a 1,000,000-year soul beast. The 4 extremities of the myriad elephant valley had been formed over countless years. Although Wang Feng wasn't clear about its history, he knew that it wasn't any weaker than the ice-fire yin-yang well. In fact, it was even stronger. This was because 4 of the 5 extremities of the myriad elephant valley contained great opportunities and power. There were countless treasures. Back in the day, Wang Feng's cultivation base had been low. If he had used the cauldron of heaven and earth to practice cultivation, he would have been able to refine all of the precious materials into soul crystals within a very short period of time, which would greatly increase his soul power. If these 4 fellows cultivate in the 4 extremities of the myriad elephant valley, they'll be at least 1,000 years old. Even if they don't have 1,000,000 years, they'll definitely have 700,000 to 800,000 years of cultivation. Wang Fengxin said. The current Shenbing had only stepped into the 100,000-year realm, which was less than 200,000 years. She had yet to pass the heavenly tribulation. The further a soul beast went, the slower its cultivation would become. In just 6 to 7 years, Shenbing had grown from a 60 to 70,000-year soul beast to a 100,000-year soul beast. This was almost to the point where soul beasts would bristle with anger. However, toward the end, the speed would decrease. For example, a tidal Douluo's cultivation speed would be greatly reduced. It was the same for soul beasts that broke through to the 100,000-year level. At this time, a cold voice sounded. "Human, you've been watching the show for so long. Haven't you seen enough?" That cold voice really came from Shenbing's mouth. Everyone was shocked. Tang San was also quite surprised to see this. It appeared that the vast sea cosmic shroud was indeed significantly less effective in this frosty environment. How did this soul beast discover me? This soul beast wasn't poisoned. Furthermore, it was very calm from the beginning to the end. It's not easy to deal with. It's even harder to deal with compared to the other soul beasts that went berserk. Dugabo said, "One had to know. In such an extreme environment, the strength of a tidal Douluo would be greatly reduced. Such a natural environment was very beneficial for these ice-type soul beasts. Even those 80 to 90,000 year soul beasts were very troublesome for ordinary tidal Douluo. As a result, many human Douluo were unwilling to venture too deep into the extreme north. Xiao-san, take back your trident, Wang Feng suddenly said. Tang-san was stunned. He thought that it made sense. Now that the soul beast had discovered them, there was no need to hide anymore. When the trident was taken back, the light from the vast sea cosmic shroud dissipated. In an instant, everyone saw the ice Kira shake violently. In the next moment, it started to roar and shake the heavens and the earth. Everyone was shocked. Just when they thought that the soul beast was going to attack them, they saw the ice Kira rushing towards them. After that, it stopped 100 meters away and sat on the ground. It said in a surprised voice, "Boss, you're back?" Everyone, "What's going on?" Wang Feng coughed a few times and said casually, "Let me introduce him. He's Xin Bing, a good-for-nothing underling of mine." Everyone, "A good-for-nothing underling?" Tang Xin swallowed. He looked at the countless frozen soul beasts and the titan snow demon ape in the distance. What the F***CK? Could it be that the weak lackeys Big Brother Phone was talking about? Were they? Just these? It seems that they are indeed good-for-nothings compared to Brother Fang's strength. 100,000-year soul beast as his underling. Dugabo and the other titled widened their eyes. However, when they thought about the conversation between Wang Feng and the frost ape, they guessed something and were stunned. Could it be related to Brother Fang's golden lotus? Tang Xin thought. That frost ape's attitude changed drastically after seeing Brother Fang's golden lotus. This means that Brother Fang's soul beast friend should be related to the golden lotus. Everyone was shocked, but at the same time, they looked on in realization. At this moment, Wang Feng walked towards Xun Bing with a smile. After not seeing him for a long time, Wang Feng still missed him. However, just as Wang Feng was about to reach Xun Bing suddenly stopped. Suddenly, a strange light flashed in Xun Bing's eyes. He suddenly pounced towards Wang Feng. His huge body pressed down like Mount Tai. An icy light condensed in his hand and smashed toward Wang Feng. He roared angrily. "Human, you want to pretend to be my boss? Dream on, Wang Feng." Damn it. Seeing Xun Bing coming toward him, Wang Feng was also in a mess. Everyone was also stunned. The situation changed too quickly. Who would have thought that the ice beast, who was so respectful to Wang Feng and called him boss, would attack Wang Feng directly? "You even suspect your boss? You are too cautious." Frowning, Wang Feng condensed his aura. He clenched his fist and punched towards Xin Bing. When the two collided, the air exploded and countless ice-armored jade spirit trees trembled. Wang Feng's figure did not move, but Xin Bing's entire body flew out and landed on the ground. It was as if he was skating on ice on the icy ground, drawing out two trenches like canals. "You bastard." Wang Feng looked at Xun Bing helplessly. He immediately opened his hand and released the golden lotus. After not seeing him for 6 or 7 years, Xin Bing was still cautious. Who would have thought that even his boss would suspect him? But it was true. After all, it had been so long. Seeing the golden lotus appear under the golden light, Xun Bing's eyes widened. After staring at it for a long time, she excitedly shouted, "Boss, it's really you? You actually came back?" Xin Bing naturally felt the pure aura of the golden lotus. "Nonsense," Wang Feng said in annoyance. "In this world, other than your boss, who can be as handsome as me? Disguise? Can you disguise as your boss?" Everyone. Chapter 943. That makes sense. Xin Bing said embarrassedly. "Boss, no one can imitate your shamelessness." Wang Feng was speechless. After laughing and scolding, Wang Feng brought everyone in front of Xin Bing. "Brother Feng, what was going on just now?" Tang Sen hurriedly asked. He was probably the only underling that even his own boss doubted. Wang Feng explained, "Xin Bing is more mature and cautious. That's why she's called Xin Bing." Everyone was enlightened. As they looked at this mountain-like soul beast, They looked at each other and were speechless. It was too mysterious. "Oh yes, boss. You humans must be here because of the soul beast riot, right?" Bing's huge eyes swept across Tang San and the others. They could feel the suspicion in her eyes and laughed awkwardly. Wang Feng nodded slightly and told Bing what had happened. "I'm here to protect Sister Qing." Bing sighed and spat out an icy fog. Sister Qing has been helping that overlord suppress the blood soul poison. They're in the extreme ice layer in the inner circle. Those two evil human soul masters have been controlling the soul beasts to attack the extreme ice layer. They want to control the Snow Empress. The others and I are guarding this area and stopping these rampaging soul beasts. Bing looked at the Tai-Tan snow demon ape in the distance and whispered, "Boss, at least 30 to 40% of the soul beasts in the extreme north have been infected and controlled by those two evil human soul beasts. The numbers are still increasing. However, he can't control these rampaging soul beasts. He can only control them. The remaining 20% of the soul beasts are guarding the extreme ice layer." Hearing this, Wang Feng frowned. This situation was more than just a little serious. The blood soul poison was probably this special poison. "Furthermore, boss, from what I know, you humans are in even more danger," Bing suddenly said. "Those two evil human soul masters haven't been able to break through our defenses. They should have turned to the main group and controlled these rampaging soul beasts to attack you humans." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. There are also quite a few 100,000-year soul beasts, as well as the other overlord of the extreme north, the blizzard-frozen spirit bird. Bing quickly said, "This blizzard-frozen spirit bird is even stronger than the Titan snow demon ape. It has a cultivation of more than 500,000 years, and its cultivation is second only to the Snow Empress. I don't know what those two evil human soul masters used to infect this overlord. Their auras have disappeared into the inner circle, and the number of soul beasts attacking us has been decreasing. It is very likely that they are attacking you humans." Wang Feng naturally believed Bing's words. Among the 5 great rulers, 2 of the great rulers have been infected by the virus. Needless to say, these 5 evil soul masters were at least rank 97. One of the remaining 2 evil soul masters was severely injured, so the remaining one was probably at least rank 99. Otherwise, how could the overlord of the extreme north be infected by the other party's blood soul poison? Wang Feng looked at Tang San and the others and said in a deep voice, "Little San, lead them back first and inform the defensive lines of the various cities in the north. Remember, they have to tighten their defenses. The army of soul beasts controlled by the evil soul masters will definitely only attack one place, but the defensive lines of the northern cities are very long. If anything goes wrong, the defensive lines in the north will collapse instantly. When the evil soul masters lead the army of soul beasts into the continent, the situation will be even more dangerous." Tang San and the others had thought of this too. Regardless of whether Bing was telling the truth, as long as there was such a possibility, it was indeed very dangerous. "Tell Sect Master Ning that I will bring Rong Rong back safely." Wang Feng's tone was firm. "I won't let anything happen to her. I need to make a trip to the extreme ice layer to find the source of this blood soul poison and solve this problem from its roots." Wang Feng continued, "The source of this problem was the 2 evil soul masters who used the blood soul poison to throw it into the ice river. If this problem wasn't solved, the evil soul masters would be able to control more and more soul beasts." "All right." Tang Sin took a deep breath and didn't hesitate at all. He knew that if the evil soul masters really drove the army of soul beasts to attack the defensive lines in the north, the situation would be much more serious as long as a gap was created. The others nodded one after another. Only Zhu Zhuqing looked at Wang Feng and stared at him for a while before blushing. She walked in front of Wang Feng, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him. "You have to come back safely." Zhu Zhuqing stared into Wang Feng's eyes, exhaled a faint fragrance, and then turned to leave. Bing glanced at Zhu Zhuqing and thought, fortunately, Sister Qing didn't see it. If Sister Ching saw it, she would probably explode. The boss that I missed day and night was actually kissed by a human woman. Wang Feng watched the six of them leave quickly and frowned slightly. There was a hint of worry in his eyes. If I'm not here, can Tang San still get along peacefully with the people of the Alliance? There was also the Emperor Martial Soul Master Army. If there was internal strife and they were attacked by the evil Soul Masters, the consequences would be unimaginable. Little 3, your brother Feng can only trust you. Wang Feng thought to himself. Following this, Wang Feng turned around and looked at the endless inner circle in front of him. The temperature seemed to have dropped a little. Roar! At this moment, the Titan Snow Demon Ape furiously roared a few times. It turned around, seemingly wanting to escape. Although it had lost its rationality, its instinctive fear was still there. Shen Bing couldn't beat Wang Feng, and it could sense Wang Feng's aura. It naturally chose to escape. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. He stretched out his left hand, and a star-like blood vortex flickered. A huge suction force seemed to be sucking the entire world into his pocket. The Titan Snow Demon Ape was so huge, but it couldn't even take a step forward under the Million Dragons absorption. It struggled for more than 10 seconds before it was sucked in front of Wang Feng. The frozen soul beasts were also piled up under his feet. Humph! Wang Feng snorted coldly, and the tremor of the chaotic 8 notes created countless ripples in the air. Although Wang Feng had only comprehended one note of the chaotic 8 notes, he could easily subdue soul beasts that weren't even 300,000 years old as his spiritual power became stronger. Upon closer inspection, the Titan Snow Demon Ape cultivation was actually around 300,000 years old. Perhaps it was because it had been poisoned by the blood soul poison that its strength had reached such a level. At this moment, all the frozen soul beasts were shattered by the tremor of the chaotic 8 notes. All of them entered a state of dizziness. Wang Feng hadn't used the full strength of his Million Dragons absorption. Otherwise, the Titan Snow Demon Ape wouldn't have just been sucked in. Even its soul power and life force would have been absorbed. Long Xie's soul skill was closely related to his body. It wasn't a soul skill that could be used openly. The Million Dragons absorption was much stronger than the Dark North Divine Art and the Star-Sucking Great Skill. Chapter 944. After he was stunned, Wang Feng immediately took out his White Lotus and used his passive soul skill to purify and absorb the Titan Snow Demon Ape's killing intent caused by the blood soul poison. Shen Bing watched from one side. He had never doubted his boss's abilities. In Sister Qing's words, his boss was like the heavens. There was nothing he couldn't do. The Titan Snow Demon Ape's eyes started to regain their clarity as the dazzling White Lotus purified and absorbed the blood soul poison. The soul beasts that broke out of the ice around them also started to recover. Wang Feng did some calculations. Although using the White Lotus drained his soul power, he could still absorb and convert the blood soul poison from the Titan Snow Demon Ape. However, the Titan Snow Demon Ape wasn't like the 90,000-year ice ape. It was much stronger. It was impossible to completely absorb the blood soul poison in a short period of time. He estimated that it would take at least 2 to 3 days. It wasn't easy for a soul beast of this level to be affected by the blood soul poison. These 100,000-year soul beasts had lived for many years, but they could still be controlled by the blood soul poison and lose their rationality. It was not easy to absorb the evil thoughts of killing that were squeezed out by them. Several days later, only then did the Titan Snow Demon Ape slowly awaken. The first thing it did after waking up was to let out a thunderous wail. Shen Bing was speechless. "Brother Ape, I don't think you're to blame for this." Shen Bing walked over and patted the Titan Snow Demon Ape's body with her palm as her huge body swayed. She wanted to use this opportunity to sense if the Titan Snow Demon Ape had truly recovered. If it wasn't, she would. In these 2 days, Shen Bing also talked to Wang Feng about some other things. Most of it was about how the 4 of them had spent the past 6 to 7 years. They also knew the 5 great overlords of the extreme north. The Titan Snow Demon Ape had fought with them a few times. They wouldn't have gotten to know each other if they didn't fight. It wasn't wrong to say that they were brothers. No wonder Shin Bing didn't kill the Titan snow demon ape earlier. Qing Qing even knew two of the five great overlords, the Ice Emperor and the Snow Empress. Otherwise, she wouldn't have spent so much effort to stabilize the Snow Empress blood soul poison. He even ordered them to guard the entrances to the extreme ice layer to prevent the two evil human soul masters from entering. No, it's my fault. The Titan snow demon ape suddenly started to sob. If not for the fact that I wanted to break through, I wouldn't have been bewitched by those two human soul masters who disguised themselves as soul beasts. They told me that the blood soul poison is actually a kind of holy medicine that can increase our cultivation and help us break through the heavenly tribulation. The soul beasts controlled by the blood soul poison lost their minds because their willpower wasn't strong enough. I'm one of the five overlords, and I'm different from those soul beasts. I'm sure I can control myself. Hearing this, Shun Bing was silent. Wang Feng shook his head. He originally thought that the two evil soul masters had used some special method to bewitch and control the two overlords. After all, many soul beasts had been poisoned by the blood soul poison and had lost their minds. How could an overlord-level existence follow in his footsteps? Who would have thought that it was all because of these words? It had to be said that the two evil soul masters had a very accurate grasp of the mentality of these soul beasts. It wasn't just soul beasts. Even if they had bewitched those titled Dalu, Wang Feng believed that many of them would have fallen for it. In fact, Wang Feng thought back to his previous life. Drugs, gambling, and so on had caused countless families to be destroyed and their families to be separated. However, there were still many people who thought that they were smart and thought that it wasn't a big deal. If others fell for it, it was because they were too weak. They wouldn't fall for it, especially gambling. But in fact, once they were infected, they would fall into an endless abyss. Even if they managed to crawl out, half of their lives would be ruined. Many of them were elites from various industries, and some were even worth more than 100 million. Weren't they still falling for it? This blood soul poison was very similar. Furthermore, it was much stronger than those things. These overlords thought that they were strong enough to resist it, and they weren't afraid. However, the two evil soul masters used this mentality to make these overlords fall for the blood soul poison and lose their minds. They were driven by them. Evil soul masters were indeed evil, but the fact that they were able to survive until now meant that they definitely had some skills. Shun Bing shook her head and said, "Your willpower isn't strong enough. In fact, we're not better than you. It's just that Sister Qing is very violent. Whoever dares to touch that thing will be killed." Cowardly Kuan even wanted to go to the ice river to have a taste of it a few days ago. I was almost skinned alive. Wang Feng was speechless. Qing Qing seemed to have grown a lot. She was already a little dignified. However, it made sense. Ever since she brought Xing Xing and Yi around to fight, Qing Qing had always been acting like a big sister. After this, Wang Feng asked the Tai Tan Snow Demon Ape about the two evil soul masters. Originally, I was going to attack the humans, the Tai Tan Snow Demon Ape said. However, those two evil soul masters suddenly drove me to attack the extreme ice layer. Although I lost my mind then, I heard them say that the Snow Empress blood soul poison is different from ours. We fell for it because we swallowed it or soaked in the ice river. However, the Snow Empress ate the blood soul poison that was formed after 4 of their soul bones exploded. It's called the blood soul origin poison. Not only will she lose her mind, but she will also be controlled by them once her blood is infected. That's why they didn't continue to attack the extreme ice layer. Instead, they attacked the humans first. That's because they believe that the Snow Empress will be infected by this poison sooner or later. They only sent me here to feign an attack. The Snow Empress is the ruler of the extreme north. Once she's controlled, most of the soul beasts in the extreme north won't be able to resist. The Tai Tan Snow Demon Ape revealed a look of infatuation and adoration. Wang Feng nodded slightly. "Human, you're so strong, and your brother Bing's boss. You even saved us. Perhaps you can save the Snow Empress." The Tai Tan Snow Demon Ape looked at Wang Feng as his eyes sparkled. "However, I know that the chances are slim. you're not a soul beast, and you don't have the obligation to pay such a price. Even soul beasts don't have such an obligation. Wang Feng was speechless. This overlord was very clear. He indeed didn't have the obligation to save the Snow Empress. From the looks of it, the Snow Empress was infected with the blood soul origin poison. Whether the White Lotus and the starlight gravity could purify and absorb the poison was still unknown. Let's go to the extreme ice layer to take a look. Let me see the source of the ice river. I want to see what the blood soul origin poison is like. Wang Feng said, "Oh yes." Wang Feng told her about Ning Rongrong and Hulaina. Humans? Shen Bing pondered and said, "We haven't left this area recently. Ever since the Snow Empress was poisoned, we've been guarding the entrance to the extreme ice layer. We don't know if any humans have entered." Wang Feng frowned slightly. If even Shen Bing and the others didn't know, it would be troublesome. Chapter 945. I might have an impression of it. At this moment, the Titan snow demon ape suddenly said, when the blood soul poison erupted, there was a group of humans. There were less than 10 of them, and one of them was a titled Douluo. The rest of them were also very strong. However, they were almost all captured by the frozen spirit bird subordinates. Fortunately, other than that titled Douluo, the other young human soul masters were also very strong. There was even a soul master with a phoenix martial soul and a fox-type martial soul. They barely managed to resist, but were forced away. They seemed to have headed towards the absolute ice forbidden land. The Titan snow demon ape spoke slowly. Absolute ice forbidden land? Isn't that a forbidden land in the extreme north? Shen Bing was astonished. Legend has it that there's a strong soul beast that was born when the extreme north was formed. Only the Snow Empress and the Ice Emperor know the details. We've never set foot there. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. The group that the Titan snow demon ape was talking about should be Ning Rongrong. Less than 10 people and a fox martial soul. Could there be Hulaina? It seems like I have to negotiate with the Ice Emperor and the Snow Empress, the two overlords of the extreme north. Wang Fengxin muttered to himself. That's right. The frozen spirit bird subordinates had lost their rationality and wanted to chase after them. However, they stopped and returned when they saw that it was the absolute ice forbidden land. The Titan snow demon ape spoke softly. Even those soul beasts that have lost their rationality don't dare to approach the absolute ice forbidden land. One could imagine that the soul beasts of the extreme north would never be able to enter that place. He definitely couldn't get close to it. It had already penetrated deep into his bones and mind. Even if he lost his rationality, he would subconsciously reject that place. However, for Wang Feng, he had already figured out the ins and outs of the matter. Let's go to the extreme ice layer first. Wang Feng pointed to the dense forest in the distance. Extreme ice layer. It was the core region of the extreme north, the most central region. It was also the place with the lowest temperature. Shen Bing brought Wang Feng and arrived at the extreme ice layer in less than an hour. It was Wang Feng's first time coming to such a place. He was rather amazed by the scene in front of him. This polar ice region was a magnificent snow crystal color. Although there was no sunlight, it emitted a dazzling luster. It was oval-shaped, surrounded by ice-armored Jade Spirit Tree Kings. The Jade Spirit Tree King required a cultivation of at least 90,000 years and a height of at least 300 meters to be called a Tree King. Icicles were erected all around, and each icicle was guarded by a powerful soul beast. In the most central position, there was a Jade Spirit Tree Emperor that was at least 500 meters tall. It enveloped the center of the polar ice layer. The ice armor spiritual Jade Tree Emperor could only reach such heights after breaking through 100,000 years of cultivation. Emperors were naturally extraordinary. The 500-meter-tall Tree Emperor looked like a giant tree in a world of ice and snow in the extreme north. That kind of ancient and majestic aura showed that this ancient life was mysterious and profound and had extraordinary intelligence. Looking from afar, it gave people a kind of shock to the soul. This kind of ancient life that grew out of nature was like a miracle in this world. The building that it formed was even more amazing than the uncanny workmanship of humans. This ice-armored spiritual jade tree emperor was even more extraordinary than the two divine temples Wang Feng had seen. After all, it was something that grew out of nature. Even if the two temples were passed down by gods, they were still built by humans. Not far from the polar ice layer, a thick stench of blood slowly came over. Wang Feng looked in that direction. Not far from the polar ice layer is the source of the ice river in the extreme north. It is also the place where the two evil people poisoned. Shen Bing said in a deep voice, "If a soul beast breathes in that bloody stench for a long time, it will also be affected and lose its mind. But there is this jade spirit tree emperor that can purify the bloody stench, so the soul beasts in the polar ice layer will not be affected." But that is all. Wang Feng squinted his eyes and sized it up. The polar ice layer was not big. With this jade spirit tree emperor as the center, it was probably less than 10,000 meters wide. Wang Feng's ice flame fury lotus could cover half the area. Sister Qing and the Snow Empress are suppressing their injuries at the top of the tree emperor. Shen Bing pointed to the front. Shen Bing and the Titan Snow Demon ape's bodies were huge. But in front of this jade spirit tree emperor, they were very small. Even the surrounding jade spirit tree emperors were at least 1 to 200 meters tall. They surrounded this place so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. But size did not mean strength. "Boss, I will bring you up." Sister Qing is now wholeheartedly suppressing the Snow Empress injuries. She might not be able to come and see you. Shen Bing pointed to the top of the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. Countless Jade Spirit Tree leaves that looked like water droplets surrounded that place, forming a ball of ice crystals. Wang Feng nodded slightly. At this moment, an icy green shadow suddenly flew out from the Jade Spirit Tree. A cold voice that was filled with incomparable anger sounded. "Shen Bing, you dare to bring humans into the polar ice layer? Are you also poisoned by the blood soul poison? Sister Qing will not forgive you." Under the icy light, the soft voice appeared before Wang Feng's eyes. That was a scorpion. A scorpion that even Wang Feng felt was very beautiful. It was strange. Scorpions were usually extremely ugly and ferocious soul beasts. In the wuxia novels of his previous life, scorpions and spiders were known as the 5 poisons. It could be seen that. But this scorpion, which was less than 2 meters long, made Wang Feng feel that it was very beautiful. This was because its entire body was glowing like a gemstone. The main body was the color of ice crystals, and there were a total of 4 layers. However, the last layer was slightly smaller, and each layer was covered with hexagonal diamond-like scales. Under these scales, the light on its body reflected a gem-like luster. The 6 scorpion legs were the same. Every leg looked like it had been polished by a craftsman for countless years. They were round and shiny, and under those scales, they emitted a silvery white light. The most eye-catching part was the scorpion tail on its back. It was a jade-green scorpion tail with 5 segments. Each segment was glowing with a jade-green luster. On the surface of each segment, there were diamond-like particles as embellishments. The barbs on the scorpion tail were also glowing with a silvery white luster, but it was breathtaking. Wang Feng had to admit that this scorpion was indeed very beautiful with his aesthetic sense. It could speak human language, which meant that this ice crystal scorpion, which was less than 2 meters long, was a 100,000-year soul beast. Wang Feng roughly knew who it was. If he wasn't wrong, it should be one of the 5 overlords of the extreme north, the Ice Emperor. It was an Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion. At this moment, this ice-tough Emperor Scorpion came down and looked angrily at the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. Wang Feng saw it, and it naturally saw Wang Feng too, but it was slightly stunned. What a strange human. P.S. There are still 5 more updates tonight. Please count the votes. Chapter 946. Following the Ice Jade Empress Crab's furious roar, the soul beasts on the ice pillars around the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor also roared at Wang Feng. These soul beasts were the subordinates of the two overlords. Two of them even had 100,000-year cultivations, while the rest were 80 to 90,000-year soul beasts. As it roared, the Ice Emperor stared at the human in front of it. When it said that he was unique, it naturally referred to his aura. The ice-armored jade, spiritual tree emperor, could be said to be the core of the extreme ice layer. Although it was only a 100,000-year soul beast, it was very useful. It could protect the extreme ice layer, and it was very old. Because of its element, its cultivation speed was very slow. However, it had absorbed the purest ice-type energy in the extreme north to cultivate, which was why it was able to grow to its current state. Its ability was to purify the energy in the extreme north, turning this space into a cultivation paradise. As the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor, its pure aura was something that no soul beast in the extreme north could compare to except for its sister. Its usefulness was also unparalleled in the extreme north. However, this human's aura wasn't any weaker than the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor. In fact, it was even stronger. This was very unbelievable. There was also a strange attraction. This Sister Ice Emperor, this is our boss, Dr. Soul Beasts. He is also the master that Sister Qing is always talking about. Shun Bing hurriedly said, he isn't one of those evil human soul masters. The Ice Emperor's scorpion eyes shrank when she heard this. She was a little astonished as she looked at this human. She had seen how cautious Shinbing was. It wasn't just Shinbing. She knew about the other soul beasts, as well as this Dr. Soul Beasts. More than 2 years ago, 5 soul beasts had become 100,000-year soul beasts in the extreme north. This had shaken the entire extreme north. Even in the inner circle, 100,000-year soul beasts weren't so common that they could be found everywhere. There were still very few of them. There were 5 of them in a row, and they were all extraordinary. As the ruler of the extreme north, she and her sister, the Snow Empress, had seen these 5 soul beasts personally. They couldn't be bothered with ordinary soul beasts, but how could they ignore the sudden appearance of 500,000-year soul beasts? What if these 500,000-year soul beasts were all evil soul beasts? When he and his sister found these 5 soul beasts, he understood the situation. Fortunately, these 5 soul beasts were not evil soul beasts, even though they were all extraordinary and had strange personalities. The strongest of the 5 soul beasts even became friends with his sister. With his powerful strength and unique talent, he was known as Emperor Qing in the extreme north. Green represented the growth of all living things. Many soul beasts wanted to stay by Emperor Qing's side. The Ice Emperor understood the other 4 soul beasts as he came and went. Of the 4 soul beasts, the only one in the extreme north, the Ice Kira, was the most stable and cautious of them all. If even he said so, then there must be no mistake about this human's identity. The Lotus Empress did indeed have a human master. When the 3 of them chatted, the Lotus Empress would often reveal that it wasn't just her. Even the 4 soul beasts were only as strong as they were because of this human master. However, the Lotus Supreme the Arch didn't reveal the details. He only said that her human master was called Dr. Soul Beasts. But is that so? The Ice Emperor snorted, I don't believe that. My sister was hurt by humans. The reason why our extreme North Snow Forest became like this is also because of those humans. As he said that, the Ice Emperor's eyes flashed with a cold light. The hexagonal scales on his body emitted streaks of icy light, as if they contained terrifying energy. Boss! Shun Bing shook his head helplessly. This is the Ice Emperor, one of the 5 overlords of the extreme north. He has a cultivation of 350,000 years. His sister is the Snow Empress. The 2 of them are very close, and the Snow Empress was hurt by 2 evil soul masters. That's why he hates humans. Sister Qing can't come down now. Wang Feng nodded slightly. He could understand this. According to Shun Bing's introduction, the Ice Emperor and the Snow Empress seemed to have grown up together and were very close. It's fine. Wang Feng looked at the Jade Spiritual Tree Emperor and laughed. It's fine. I'm only here to solve the source of the blood soul poison. As for Qing Qing, I won't visit her for now. As he said that, Wang Feng looked at the Ice Emperor and said, "Since you don't believe me, I won't disturb you." He actually knew. The Ice Emperor definitely believed Shun Bing's words. But even if he did, he was still against humans coming into contact with this place. Wang Feng didn't have time to argue with him now. The key was to solve the source of the blood-soul poison in the ice river. After he finished speaking, Wang Feng walked towards the ice river outside the extreme ice layer. Seeing this, the Ice Emperor was stunned. He's leaving just like that? Eh. The Ice Emperor looked at Wang Feng's back view and was momentarily stunned. Cough, cough. Sister Ice Emperor, this human is very powerful. The Titan Snow Demon Ape suddenly opened his mouth. Shut up. Call me the Ice Emperor. Do you want to die? The Ice Emperor seemed to have just noticed the Titan Snow Demon Ape. He shouted coldly, "Why are you here too? Aren't you poisoned by the blood soul poison?" The Titan Snow Demon Ape's mouth twitched. "I'm such a huge beast, and you didn't even notice me?" However, he wasn't displeased at being scolded like that. He was dozens of times bigger than the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, but he couldn't defeat her. The difference of 100,000 years of cultivation was enough for the Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion to beat him up. After a moment of silence, the Titan Snow Demon Ape said, "The blood soul poison in my body has been cured by this human. I think he should be able to cure the Snow Empress poison." Hearing this, the Ice Emperor sized up the Titan Snow Demon Ape a few times. The gem-like scales on his body suddenly lit up. "What a joke. I definitely won't let a human save my sister. That's absolutely impossible." A sharp voice rang out, carrying an irresistible aura. The Titan Snow Demon Ape sighed. "Ice Emperor, are you sure? But what if the Snow Empress can't be cured? This human came here to cure the blood soul poison. Look at where he's going. He wants to prove it to you. Otherwise, with his strength, you can't beat him at all. Even Grandma Jade Spirit Tree can't stop him if he wants to barge into the extreme ice layer." As he spoke, the Titan Snow Demon Ape also looked into the distance. "There's another reason. It's because he has a human friend who accidentally entered the extreme ice forbidden land. Only you and the Snow Empress know about this place. Because only the two of you have entered, he has a favor to ask of you. Although I'm not smart, I know that if you use this as a condition, in addition to your relationship with the Azure Emperor, he will definitely help." After hearing the Titan Snow Demon Ape's words, the Ice Emperor was silent for a long time. Extreme ice forbidden land. A human who accidentally entered that place is simply courting death. The Ice Emperor laughed coldly. If his human friend really entered that place, it would be useless even if I told him about the situation there. As for your claim that he can cure the blood soul poison, that's even more ridiculous. Chapter 947. The blood soul poison has already merged with the ice river in the extreme north. Other than our extreme ice layer, the rest of the inner circle has been covered. Even if you don't come into contact with the water in the ice river, if you absorb the bloody aura from the ice river for a long time, you will slowly lose your mind. How wide is the ice river in the extreme north? How can a human like him have a solution? Although he said that, the Ice Emperor still couldn't help but look into the distance. He looked at that figure. "Then let's go and take a look together." The Titan Snow Demon Ape said, "I believe this human can do it. Even for a soul beast like me, who was poisoned by the blood soul poison, he only took a few days to fully recover. I believe he can solve it." As he spoke, the Titan Snow Demon Ape walked into the distance. The Ice Emperor hesitated for a long time and looked at the top of the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. "Child, go." At this moment, the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor said in an old voice, "That human is not simple. He is emitting an aura that is even purer than mine. I have lived for so long, but I have never seen such a human. Even those God inheritors don't have such a pure aura that seems to have merged with heaven and earth." Hearing this, the Ice Emperor was startled. "Grandmother Tree." The Ice Emperor looked at the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor in shock. If one were to talk about the most ancient life form in the extreme north, other than the one in the absolute ice forbidden land, it would be the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. In the extreme north, it had lived longer than its sister. Its cultivation base did not depend on its own initiative to cultivate. Instead, it relied on passive cultivation. It was the most ancient existence among the countless ice-armored jade spirit trees in the inner circle. It was a living fossil in the extreme north. Unfortunately, Grandmother Tree's life was about to come to an end. It might only be a matter of a few thousand years. Although the aura emitted by the blood soul poison had been purified by Grandmother Tree, this purification was actually a disguised form of absorption. Absorbing it into the body would naturally cause great harm to the body. Let's go take a look. Grandmother Tree is also very curious. The old voice sounded again. The Ice Emperor nodded and twisted his body as he walked forward. The ice river in the extreme north was covered in ice and snow. The source was naturally near the extreme ice layer. That was because this place was the centermost region. All the glaciers in the far north originated from this place. Arctic Ice Lake. Wang Feng smelled the scent of blood and quickly arrived at this place. The extreme frost ice lake wasn't very large, but it was glowing with a blood-red crystalline light. Is this the source of the ice river under the extreme north? Wang Feng looked at the lake. The lake was very big, and the surface of the lake was covered with a layer of blood-colored ice. Below was a scarlet lake that flowed from this place, extending to the entire extreme northern glacial river. The smell of blood in this place was so strong that if one breathed in 2 breaths, they would probably lose their minds. According to the Frost Ape, the 2 evil soul masters had used the blood of the 3 dead evil soul masters to unleash their soul skills and drip the blood soul poison into the lake. Ordinary poisons wouldn't be able to survive in such a special ice lake. The moment they fell into the ice, they would be frozen. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to use this method to deal with the extreme north. However, the poison created from the blood of 3 evil soul masters wasn't simple at all. Those 2 evil soul masters were definitely very strong. Yes, Shin Bing looked at the lake and said, "Fortunately, Kukuin wasn't here. He flew into the sky. Otherwise, Kukuin might have been poisoned." After the blood soul poison erupted, Kukuin was a little unhappy because this place was his nest. Furthermore, the glaciers were gone, which meant that he could only fly in the sky, and he couldn't slack off. Hence, he wanted to go down and try, but he was beaten up by Sister Qing. Wang Feng was speechless. Wang Feng stared at the lake. This was the root of the problem. If he wanted to deal with the soul beast uprising, he had to deal with this place. Otherwise, even if he defeated the 2 evil soul masters or the rampaging soul beasts, it would be useless. But it was useless. It would always come back. Although this was Wang Feng's first time seeing this, he had already thought of a few ideas on the way here. Although the White Lotus could purify everything in the world, the blood soul poison here was different. If he could only purify this area, what about the entire glacial river in the far north? Did he have to purify them piece by piece? How much effort would that take? Wang Feng could use the White Lotus to absorb the evil thoughts of the soul beasts brought about by the blood soul poison because of his million-year soul ring. However, it couldn't absorb the poison. It could heal those soul beasts because of the side effects of absorbing the evil thoughts of the blood soul poison. If he couldn't absorb it, he could only rely on the White Lotus purification ability. This filthy and powerful blood soul poison itself emitted an evil aura. However, Wang Feng wasn't sure if he could succeed if he only relied on purification. Shen Bing, break the surface of the lake. The White Lotus in Wang Feng's hand spun and appeared in his hand. Shen Bing stomped her foot, and the layer of ice on the lake cracked open. The smell of blood rushed into the sky. Although it was disgusting, if he sucked in the lake water, he would crave it. Seeing this, Wang Feng would activate the White Lotus and release a dazzling white light into the entire lake. In an instant, under the cover of the white light, the blood in the lake disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shen Bing's eyes brightened. As expected, even this blood soul poison couldn't stump Boss. The Titan Snow Demon Ape and the Ice Emperor, who had rushed over, also looked at this scene in shock. Under the effect of the white lotus, the blood soul poison was quickly disappearing. Even the smell of blood in the air was weakened. The Ice Emperor, who came later, could even smell the pure aura emitted from the human's body, which attracted soul beasts. No, it wasn't just soul beasts. Even ordinary living beings would be attracted to him at this moment. Under the cover of the white light, the Ice Emperor stared at the white flower in the human's hand. It was so beautiful. That human's side profile was like a god as he stared at the lake seriously. It made his already peerless appearance even more charming. Even from the perspective of a beast, the Ice Emperor couldn't help but admit that this human was indeed very charming. After a moment, the white lotus was retracted. The boundless white light dissipated. The entire lake looked brand new. Seeing this, the three soul beasts were delighted. Can this human really help sister? The Ice Emperor questioned himself. But at this moment, the Ice Emperor looked at the human with a frown. It seemed like the problem was solved. Why was this human still frowning? The Ice Emperor was curious, but suddenly understood something. He couldn't help but shake his head. It's useless. Chapter 948. The Titan Snow Demon Ape was stunned. Ice Emperor, this human has already done it. The blood soul poison in the extreme frost ice lake has disappeared. The soul beast in the extreme north won't. Just as it finished speaking, Wang Feng sighed softly. The next moment, the extreme frost ice lake that had been purified and restored to its original state instantly turned blood red. Boss, this... Shenbing looked at this scene in astonishment. The blood soul poison has spread throughout the entire extreme North Ice River. It's useless to only purify this area, Wang Feng murmured. Unless the entire extreme North Ice River is purified in an instant, the blood soul poison will spread and rebound at an extremely fast speed. The blood soul poison was so powerful that it was not so easy to deal with. How big was the extreme North Ice River? It covered half of the extreme north. If not for the extreme north being blocked by the glaciers and mountains, it might have flowed into the sea. The consequences would be even more serious. But Wang Feng's white lotus could not cover such a wide area. Even a god could not do that. After hearing this, Shenbing was silent. If that was the case, was it not hopeless? The Titan Snow Demon Ape was also silent. The Ice Emperor stood where he was and did not speak. If this human could really solve the blood soul poison, then he might really have a way to deal with her sister's poison, and he might be more trustworthy. But now he was still a little disappointed. The Ice Emperor knew about his sister's situation. The Azure Emperor suppression and Ice Seal could only slow down the spread of the poison, but could not stop it. And this was the effect of Grandma Tree. There are two more ways. Wang Feng stared at the extreme frost ice lake. Shenbing, there were two more? That was just an appetizer. Let's try it, Wang Feng said. Of course, he had prepared more than one method. The two soul beasts behind him were also stunned. What other methods were there? Wang Feng had prepared a total of 3 methods. The first was to purify the white lotus. It would be good if it could be done once and for all. But the blood soul poison was extremely difficult to deal with. It seemed that purifying the source was not enough. The second method was to use his own blood. Wang Feng's blood was extremely pure. It was formed after his dustless glass body was washed by the chaotic divine light. His blood was a supreme treasure to any living being. Of course, this type of blood was no ordinary blood. It was blood essence that had condensed a powerful energy. To put it bluntly, a drop of his blood essence had a powerful, purifying, and restraining effect. Even if it was diluted and fed to a soul beast, it could greatly increase the soul beast's cultivation and potential. Its effect might not be inferior to that of the golden lotus, perhaps even stronger. This was because the essence blood represented one's cultivation. Therefore, this thing consumed a lot of cultivation, and if he used too much of it, it would cause his strength to decrease. Unless the esoteric character reached the great completion, he would be able to create his own essence blood quickly. This was what Wang Feng had thought of before. It would form a perfect cycle with the Pangu Axe's blood burst attack. It could be said that Wang Fengkai could freely use his own blood essence. However, it was impossible for him to reach large success. He only had half of the esoteric character, so it was impossible for him to reach large success. Moreover, just a drop of blood essence could instantly purify the blood-soul poison with the powerful energy in the blood. But now that the blood-soul poison had spread to the entire extreme frost ice lake, just a drop of blood was not enough. The two evil soul masters had used all the blood essence of 3 evil soul masters and 2 evil soul masters to unleash such a powerful poison-type soul skill. Wang Feng estimated that he would need to use at least a few drops. However, this consumption was too great. A few drops of blood essence, although this drop could change the entire extreme North Ice Lake. Wang Feng estimated that his rank might drop by 1 because of this. Now that he had dropped by 1 rank, he did not know how long it would take for him to recover. The gains did not make up for the losses. Rank 89 and even rank 90 was indefinite. It was fine if he did not improve, but if he dropped directly, what was the point? Therefore, Wang Feng decided not to use this method for the time being. As for the third method, it was also a more extreme method. However, it might be able to push his soul power rank to rank 90 by a huge step. That was thinking until here, Wang Feng suddenly leaped into the lake. Instantly, the 3 soul beasts were stunned. Wang Feng leaped high into the air, and with a splash, he jumped into the extreme frost ice lake. Water splashed on the surface of the lake. "Boss!" Shen Bing let out a scream. "You're jumping in just like that? Aren't you courting death?" After 6 or 7 years, seeing Boss again, Shen Bing didn't expect it to be like this. "Don't worry, I have my ways." Just as Shen Bing was about to jump in, a voice sounded from the lake. This caused Shen Bing to stop in her tracks. The Titan Snow Demon Ape hurried over and hugged Shen Bing. "Brother Bing, don't be rash." Shen Bing stomped her feet on the ground and calmed down. At this moment, the Ice Emperor was stunned as he watched from behind. He was a little dazed. Is this human crazy? Is he going to jump in just like that? Is he courting death? The blood soul poison was not only effective on soul beasts. It would have the same effect on humans if they were infected. He was still jumping into the lake. It was many times more serious than drinking it directly. When the blood soul poison was dripped into the extreme frost ice lake, it quickly infected the entire ice lake. Many ice-type soul beasts in the ice lake lost their minds and fought each other, causing more blood to flow into the ice lake. This caused the blood soul poison to spread quickly. Now, this human had jumped in. The Ice Emperor thought back to the figure that jumped into the lake so decisively. He felt that it was unbelievable, but he also felt that it was so shocking. This human, the Ice Emperor, was silent. It was too magical. Is he trying to use such a suicidal method to deal with the blood soul poison? How is that possible? Actually, Wang Feng could easily deal with the blood soul poison if he committed suicide. But Wang Feng had never thought of such a stupid method. He jumped in so that he could use his body to absorb the blood soul poison. He did not want to use the white lotus to purify it. Perhaps soul beasts could not do anything about the blood soul poison, but Wang Feng could. The blood soul poison would not cause Wang Feng to lose his mind. On its own, the blood soul poison was also a type of energy. This thing was created by condensing the blood of 3 evil soul masters. Those 3 evil soul masters were definitely titled Douluo. They were not ordinary titled Douluo either. They were at least rank 95 transcendent Douluo. I'll stay in this lake and meditate to absorb the blood soul poison's energy. Wang Fengxian took a deep breath. The blood soul poison's negative effects are useless to me. He had the dustless glass body. He would not be affected by the negative effects. Even Long Xie's evil thoughts were useless to him. What was this blood soul poison? It could also increase his cultivation. This was the best method that Wang Feng could think of, but it was a little dangerous. Chapter 949. In essence, this blood soul poison was also a great tonic. Otherwise, it would not increase the cultivation of those soul beasts. Although White Lotus could not absorb the blood soul poison, Wang Feng could absorb it himself and meditate. Following that, Wang Feng summoned one of the innate 5-element flags, the blue flag. The blue flag controlled the water. It could allow Wang Feng to absorb the blood soul poison more smoothly in this lake. Without any hesitation, Wang Feng directly meditated. At the same time, he activated the starlight gravity, coupled with the huge suction force caused by meditation. The blood in the entire extremely cold lake, and even the energy between heaven and earth, quickly rushed towards Wang Feng in the lake. If one stood outside the extremely cold lake, one could clearly see that a vortex appeared in the lake, and it started to spin crazily. The countless blood soul poison in the lake started to surge towards the figure in the center. It was all absorbed. How abnormal was Wang Feng's meditation speed now? In an instant, it created an energy storm. In the blink of an eye, the blood soul poison in the lake was completely absorbed. Following that, this suction force started to spread towards the ice river outside the extremely cold lake. Countless blood soul poison was crazily used towards the center of the extreme north. The blood soul poison, this kind of overbearing poison, seemed to want to occupy every ice lake. As long as a place was not infected, then the blood soul poison would automatically spread over. At this moment, at the edge of the extremely cold lake, the 3 soul beasts watched for a long time. They seemed to understand something. The Ice Emperor subconsciously cried out. He wants to absorb all the blood soul poison in the entire extreme North Ice River. This idea was too crazy. It was crazy to the point of explosion. This human, was he serious? Wasn't that the same as killing himself again? The Ice Emperor felt that he had never seen such a crazy human, not to mention humans. Even Soul Beast had never seen such a crazy human. Logically speaking, even those 5 evil soul masters, from a certain extent, were not so crazy. What kind of demon was this? Was there really a person in this world who was not afraid of death? In order to solve this blood soul poison, he was willing to absorb all of it. Thinking of this, the Ice Emperor actually admired this human a little. Now that he recalled the figure that jumped down, he felt even more shocked. Although he knew that this absurd idea was completely impossible. How could there be a person who could withstand the blood soul poison in the entire extreme North Ice River? However, even though they were shocked and impressed, but in the next moment, the Ice Emperor stared at the figure in the lake, and the scorpion tail behind him emitted terrifying rays of light. An extremely cold aura suddenly emanated from her body. Ice Emperor, what are you trying to do? Shenbing suddenly came back to her senses. She looked at the Ice Emperor and said in a low voice. He felt a murderous aura. I'm going to kill him, the Ice Emperor said indifferently. She looked at the human in the middle of the lake. This human is so powerful. If he was bewitched by the blood soul poison and lost his mind, he would have lost his mind. This is the last pure land of the extreme north. Even the polar ice layer may not be able to protect it. Hearing this, Shenbing was stunned. I admit that I admire this man's spirit of sacrificing himself for justice. He wants to absorb all the blood soul poison in the extreme North Ice River. The Ice Emperor looked at Shenbing and continued speaking slowly. Her gem-like body emitted a dazzling luster. From this point, my sister and I, as the rulers of the extreme north, should be thankful that he chose to do this, even if he did this for the sake of humanity. However, I can't let him do this. Shenbing was silent. The Ice Emperor was not wrong. How powerful was Boss? After exchanging a punch with Boss, Shenbing knew that if Boss wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. 100,000-year soul beast to Boss was like 1,000-year soul beast to 100,000-year soul beast like them. He could kill it as he wished. If Boss failed and was controlled by the blood soul poison, he would lose his mind. Then the first to suffer would be the polar ice layer. It shouldn't be possible, right? At this moment, the Titan Snow Demon Ape said in a low voice. He can easily absorb the negative effects of the blood soul poison on us soul beasts. How could he be infected? Hearing this, the Ice Emperor shook his head. We live in the extreme north and are not afraid of the power of ice. But why would we be frozen? In this world, unless one is a god, it is impossible to be immune to it. He can absorb and purify it using that little white flower of his, but it does not mean that he is immune. He is now absorbing the blood-soul poison, which directly affects the soul and spirit. Furthermore, this is the blood-soul poison in the entire extreme North Ice River. Can you guarantee that he can purify it? What if he can't purify it? There is only that one chance. Even if he really absorbs all the blood-soul poison, if he loses his mind, do you want us to bet on this last polar ice layer? As an overlord, it wasn't a true soul beast that didn't know anything. After living for so long, it was normal for them to cultivate. The world of soul beasts was also a society. Although it was not as complicated as the human world, it was definitely not simple. The Ice Emperor's words could be said to strike at the heart. Yes, as long as there is a chance. If Boss loses his mind, the entire polar ice layer will suffer. No, Ice Emperor, I cannot let you kill Boss. Shinbing shook her head and said, no matter what, we should observe for a period of time first. Otherwise, you will have to step over my dead body first. Seeing this, the Ice Emperor was silent for a long time before slowly saying, all right, if something happens to him, I hope you will not stop me. Shinbing did not reply and only watched silently. The Ice Emperor looked deeply at the figure in the center of the lake. She turned and left. Now that her sister was not here, she needed to be fully prepared. She could not let the last pure land in the extreme north disappear just like that. The Ice Emperor returned to the polar ice layer and communicated with the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. Granny Tree, did I do wrong? That human is still trying to solve the problem of the blood-soul poison. The Ice Emperor sighed softly and said, however, the ancient Tree Emperor only opened his mouth and said in an old voice, child, now that your sister is not here, you are the overlord of the extreme north. What you did was not wrong, but sometimes you should try to believe. In this world, there are many powerful existences that we do not know about. Until the last moment, remember not to give up. The Ice Emperor was startled for a moment before nodding her head. Several days later, in the polar ice lake, the blood-soul poison is getting denser and denser. It starts to flow from the extreme North Ice River towards the polar ice lake. The dense smell of blood seems to have turned into a boundless blood-colored tornado that revolves around Wang Feng. Odontosukis, Cowardly Kuan, and Iron Fox regarding the other entrances of the polar ice layer also came. Other than them, the whale shark, blood dragon, and blackwater crocodile that Wang Feng sent to the extreme north have also come. Second Brother Ice, how many days has it been? Boss's situation doesn't seem too good. The blackwater crocodile was flying together with Odontosukis. If Wang Feng opened his eyes right now, he would definitely be able to see that the two of them have already started fighting. Chapter 950. Don't worry. With Boss's strength, this blood-soul poison is nothing, Odontosukis said casually while flying in the air. He was not worried at all. Bang! Just as he finished speaking, the blackwater crocodile hit his head with its tail and said angrily, damn you. What did you say? If Boss didn't ask me and Sister Shark to bring you here, you would have gone extinct. You're not worried at all? The otaku alligator's body, which was more than 10 meters long, was directly sent flying. Otaku alligator hurriedly flew over and said aggrievedly, wife, I'm also worried in my heart. I'm just using this method to hide the worry in my heart. The situation is already so anxious. I will say something to ease everyone's mind. Saying this, Odontosukis looked at the blackwater crocodile and felt satisfied. Boss Feng is Boss Feng. I didn't expect that he would really find me a wife. And such an outstanding and beautiful wife with such outstanding genes. She is a perfect match for me. Other than her bad temper, she is too perfect. Sigh, after being single for so many years, I am finally free. Look at Old Ice, look at Iron Fox. All of them are single. Cowardly Kuan is still okay. He got together with a huge and equally violent 10,000 demon whale shark. He is also a wife slave. However, although their ancestors have some bloodline, they are now different races. I don't know how they got together across races. Saying this, Odontosukis glanced at Cowardly Kuin in the air. Cowardly Kuin's body was now more than 100 meters, and it was carrying a whale shark on its back. Whale sharks do not have the ability to fly. Originally, it was difficult for them to survive in the ice river from the sea to the extreme north. After the blood soul poison broke out, it would be under the lake in the extreme ice layer. Because of the existence of the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor, it was temporarily not infected by the blood soul poison. But the range was very small. If they wanted to come out, they would be carried by Cowardly Kuin and show off their love. After all, Cowardly Kuin was much bigger and the whale shark was smaller. There was also a blood flood dragon that was communicating with Iron Fox. Actually, when these three fellows came to the extreme north to look for them, they startled many beasts. After all, it was not easy to cross the ocean. These three fellows were all 100,000 years old. When they were first discovered by Shun Bing, they immediately started fighting. With Shun Bing's personality, how could she believe that the boss had underlings? What's more, such a ferocious little brother. After Odontosukis rushed over, he immediately saw the Blackwater crocodile. He knew in his heart that this was definitely a lackey that his boss had taken in. Later, when Qing Huang rushed over, she realized that the bodies of the three of them also contained the special energy of Boss Golden Lotus. This confirmed that this was definitely the little brother that boss had taken in. After that, according to their boss's orders, they even planned to sit on the back of the Cowardly Kuin and make a trip to the Great Stardow Forest to check on the situation. However, they didn't expect the 5 evil soul masters to cause a bloodbath in the extreme north a few months ago. After that, the blood soul poison erupted, and they had no choice but to stay behind and guard the extreme north. They had to protect the last piece of pure land in the extreme north, and many soul beasts had to retreat into the extreme north. He didn't go at all. That was why the current scene was happening. Roar. Kuin, do you think something will happen to Boss? Whale Shark lay on the back of the Cowardly Kuin and asked with a worried expression. My dear, of course not. The Cowardly Kuin said carefully. Back then, all of you were able to cross the hurdle of becoming a 100,000-year soul beast under Boss's cultivation. Is there anything that Boss can't do? Although it said that, the Cowardly Kuin still looked at that figure. Well said. Whale Shark praised. I don't believe that this mere blood soul poison can stun Boss. Sigh. We should have helped Boss, but I didn't expect Boss to help us again. What's the use of us little brothers? I really hate myself for being too weak. Kuin, I really want to become stronger. The Cowardly Kuin coughed a few times to express its agreement. This deer was good at everything, but it was a battle beast that liked to fight. This was very different from his Buddhist-style view of cultivation. It hated fighting the most. It would be best if it could develop steadily and slowly. If it could avoid fighting, it would definitely not fight. However, what made the Cowardly Kuin happy was that Whale Shark liked its singing very much. Although it didn't like to fight, it also liked to watch Whale Shark fight. When it was tired, it would sing for her. Well, this was also the reason why they were attracted to each other. Brother Iron, do you think Boss looks like me now? On the other side, Blood Flood Dragon danced in the air and said in a daze. Wang Feng, who was in the middle of the lake, was covered in a layer of bloodlight because he had absorbed the blood soul poison. Even his skin was covered in layers of blood. It was indeed somewhat similar to Blood Flood Dragon. Iron Fox thought for a while and sighed. Brother Flood Dragon, it seems quite similar. But if Boss looks like you, it means that Boss will be more difficult to resist the blood soul poison, and it will be more dangerous. What are you afraid of? Blood Flood Dragon said, Actually, I can also absorb the blood soul poison. I will help Boss share some. With that, Blood Flood Dragon flew towards Wang Feng. Iron Fox hurriedly grabbed him. This guy was really a straightforward person, but his character was indeed good. He wasn't afraid of death at all. Don't go if Boss can't withstand it. It will be useless even if you share some. Iron Fox quickly said, Don't waste your life in vain. Blood Flood Dragon made an O sound and flew in the air to watch quietly. At this time, the Ice Emperor's figure slowly walked over from afar. Seeing this, Shun Bing's eyes suddenly focused and looked at the Ice Emperor. These days, he quickly summoned his other brothers and sisters, naturally, to prevent the Ice Emperor from making a move. In the next moment, a total of 700,000-year-soul beasts locked onto the Ice Emperor. Although they were 700,000-year-soul beasts and had just stepped into the realm not long ago, their foundation was still inferior to the Ice Emperor. But their strength was each stronger than the other. In addition, they were cultivating in the Four Absolutes Manifestation Valley, with Odontosukis, Coward, and Koen as the main force. Their strength was the most abnormal. It wasn't difficult to surpass 100,000-year cultivation. Not to mention one Ice Emperor, even 3 Ice Emperors might not be a match for the 7 of them together. The Ice Emperor didn't get close to the lake, but looked at the human in the center of the lake. His eyes that were like yellow gemstones were somewhat complicated. In just a few days, she could feel it. The energy of the blood soul poison in the entire extreme North Ice River was almost completely absorbed by this human at a terrifying speed. It could be seen from the fact that he looked like a bloody man at this moment. This meant that this human's method was indeed successful. But in this situation, once he woke up from his meditation state, would he still be rational? The Ice Emperor didn't know, but he only knew that if this continued, the extreme North Ice layer would be in extreme danger. Gamble? She wasn't these 7 soul beasts, nor was she that human's little brother. She couldn't believe it. But at this moment, the Ice Emperor remembered what Granny Tree said. Looking at Shinbing, he was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "Don't worry, I won't make a move, but if he really loses speaking until here." Suddenly, the last trace of blood soul poison in the extreme North Ice Lake was sucked into Wang Feng's body in the whirlpool in an instant. The Ice Emperor paused as strong blood aura arose from the figure. Following that, the figure's body trembled. A pair of ice-cold and blood-red eyes slowly opened. P.S. Cough, cough, sorry, it's a bit late, but it's still 10 o'clock. Chapter 9, 51. When this figure appeared, all of the soul beasts around the lake trembled. That pair of blood-red eyes gave the soul beasts an ominous feeling, because all the soul beasts infected by the blood soul poison had this characteristic. His blood energy soared to the sky, and his murderous aura filled his eyes. His eyes were blood-red with murderous intent. Wang Feng in front of them seemed to be like this impossible. Shinbing said in a low voice. Ice Emperor sighed. It's over. He hoped that his 7 underlings and the soul beasts on his side could stop this human. At this moment, the 7 soul beasts looked at each other, not knowing what to do. The blood soul poison in the lake had been completely absorbed, but the price was that boss was infected with the blood soul poison. It was hard for them to accept. Do it. Ice Emperor looked at Shun Bing and the others. His voice was cold. You won't stop me now? Shun Bing was silent. At this moment, Boss's aura was incomparably strong. After absorbing the blood soul poison, not only did Boss Feng's body change, even his aura had changed. Even if they fought, could they win? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from Wang Feng's mouth. Stop what? Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. Ice Emperor was also stunned. What's going on? At this moment, Wang Feng landed on the lake from the sky, looking at Odontosukis and the others with a bit of surprise. Why are you all here? Wang Feng exhaled and said with a smile. Good, this blood soul poison is completely taken care of. I'm a bit full. After several days of absorption, the blood soul poison that spread throughout the ice river in the extreme north was completely absorbed. This could be considered a huge project. With the help of his meditation and starlight gravity, he barely reached it. This blood soul poison indeed contained a huge amount of energy. This energy could stimulate soul beast cultivation, but this blood soul poison contained a powerful poison. While stimulating their cultivation, it would also make these soul beasts lose their minds and become violent. But this was only for soul beasts. On the first day, Wang Feng found that although this blood soul poison was also effective on humans, it was far less effective than soul beasts. The side effects didn't lessen, but it couldn't stimulate his soul power to increase by much. Fortunately, there was too much of the blood soul poison. After fusing with the ice river and the blood of other soul beasts, the blood soul poison became even stronger, which was why it spread so quickly. Wang Feng's soul force increased by 1 rank after he finished absorbing it, and he reached rank 90. With Wang Feng's normal cultivation, it was impossible for him to achieve such a leap of 1 level in half a year. Even if he used the cauldron of heaven and earth to refine the soul crystals, it would still take him a few months. He hadn't expected to reach level 90 after absorbing the blood soul poison. This meant that Wang Feng still needed a few more months to find his 9th soul ring. At the same time, due to the blood soul poison stimulation to the mind, the 2nd and 3rd blood gold patterns on Wang Feng's body had been activated ahead of time. The blood gold veins formed by the Angel of Light and Dark Martial Soul represented 14 different types of origin energy. Wang Feng had no idea how to fuse them. However, after activating it, his strength would increase tremendously. These 3 bloodlines were comparable to the 7 bloodlines from before. His overall strength could be considered to have returned to its peak. After all, his strength had been reduced when he couldn't activate the blood mark. At this moment, Shen Bing was the first to react after hearing Wang Feng's words. "Boss, you're all right?" Shen Bing looked at Wang Feng, whose eyes were blood red and whose blood was boiling. If he had lost his mind, he wouldn't be able to smile and say such things. "Nonsense," Wang Feng snapped. "Of course I'm all right." "Then, you're like this now?" Shen Bing looked at Wang Feng. Even his skin was a faint blood-red color, but it was crystal clear. His blood-red eyes were filled with extreme charm and killing intent. He looked like he had been poisoned by the blood soul poison and had lost his consciousness. "Cough. You have to treat it as if I've changed my skin," Wang Feng said casually. Although the blood soul poison had been absorbed, there were some side effects because he had used his body to absorb it. There were some slight changes to his body's appearance. He would be able to recover in a few days. Shen Bing was speechless. The Ice Emperor was speechless when he heard this. However, he felt that it was unbelievable. It seemed like he had really done it. The Ice Emperor shifted his body and stared at the extremely cold lake. The smell of blood in the air had disappeared, and it was filled with an icy aura that made beasts feel extremely comfortable. The blood soul poison had indeed disappeared. Not only did this human succeed, but he was also completely fine. Furthermore, his aura seemed to have become stronger. "Ice Emperor, I told you." The Titan Snow Demon ape chuckled. This human might really be able to cure the Snow Empress. Why don't you let him try? The Ice Emperor frowned when he heard this. At this moment, the 7 soul beasts surrounded Wang Feng as he appeared. They recounted what had happened in the past 6 to 7 years. "Boss, I missed you so much." "Oh yes, I plan to write about what you did in the extreme north. I'll write about the situation of you humans. I'll use the Doctor of Soul Beasts as the pig trotter, and I'll do some artistic embellishment." Odontosukis circled around Wang Feng and roared a few times. "I didn't expect so many soul beasts in the extreme north to find it so interesting. Your reputation as the Doctor of Soul Beasts has become even more prominent in the extreme north." Wang Feng was speechless. Odontosukis is indeed a homebody. "Are you trying to be a homebody? You're the #1 soul beast." "Is that so? Then what's the name of the story?" Wang Feng coughed a few times and asked with a smile. It was no wonder that even the frost ape knew about his reputation as the Doctor of Soul Beasts. Other than Ching Ching and the others, Odontosukis probably played a part in it as well. It's a story about the Doctor of Soul Beasts and the 5 soul beasts in the extreme north that had to be told. It's called the Doctor's Story for short, but I changed it because you're a human. Odontosukis said. It's called the Doctor's Story. Wang Feng was speechless, although he didn't expect Odontosukis to come up with a nice name. Isn't this too straightforward and simple? The Doctor's Story? I can go, not bad. Work hard. Wang Feng coughed a few times and patted Odontosukis' head. Odontosukis seems to be getting more and more homebody. After a few hundred or 1,000 years, wouldn't he become a best-selling author in the world of soul beasts? "Boss, other than cultivating for the past 2 years, I have been creating new songs." Kuai-Kun also said excitedly, "My self-composed song is based on our experience when we defeated the ice dragon whale." "Is that so?" Wang Feng laughed a few times. "What's the name of the song?" That year, Boss led the four of us in the outer circle and used 2 years to train us to become stronger and defeat the powerful ice dragon whale. Kuai-Kun said proudly, "In a world of soul beasts in the extreme north, it's a miraculous existence. Therefore, I named this song, Song of Love." Miracle again. Wang Feng was speechless. Chapter 952. Another miracle? Why? Do you want to become light too? Wang Feng glared at Cowardly Kun in annoyance. The name of the song seemed to have some meaning. It could be said that he had a solid foundation. After a few years, these underlings had changed a lot. They had all become 100,000 years spiritual beasts and had their own ideas. Boss, the Iron Fox, also walked over. After cultivating to become a 100,000-year thunder spiritual fox, his body size was similar to the Ice Emperor. When he first saw the Iron Fox, the thunder spiritual fox was about the size of a South China tiger. However, after cultivating to become a 100,000-year spiritual fox, he didn't become too small. To the thunder spiritual fox, Iron Fox, the only indication of its cultivation was the tail on its back. Nine-tailed thunder spiritual fox. When he left, the Iron Fox only had 7 tails. However, he had 9 now. Every tail was longer than his entire body and emitted purplish gold light. Occasionally, there would be traces of lightning dancing around them. They looked very beautiful. His golden eyes were still filled with unswerving determination. His cultivation was on par with the Ice Emperor among the 4 of them. In fact, his cultivation was even higher. He was obviously the most hardworking. For example, although Cowardly Kun and Odanisukis didn't slack on their cultivation, they would do other things in their spare time. He was taciturn and indomitable. Compared to Cowardly Kun and Odanisukis, the Iron Fox had too many outstanding qualities. Among the 4 of them, he was the one who was the most serious about love. Wang Feng nodded, pleased. "Boss, you're so cool." The blood dragon walked over and said, "Wang Feng." Wang Feng patted the blood dragon's head. Your boss, like to hear such straightforward words." Wang Feng understood the blood dragon's personality. It was very straightforward and never beat around the bush. If the others said that, Wang Feng would think that they were flattering him. But in the gore-fiend horn dragon's mouth, he thought so in his heart. Wang Feng laughed out loud. Wang Feng felt that this underling was quite interesting. "Boss, we didn't go to the Great Star Doe Forest as you said. Please punish us." Roar. The whale shark on Cowardly Kun's back shouted. The blackwater crocodile by the side also nodded. She, the whale shark, and the blood flood dragon had experienced many battles. He also advocated this method. He also felt guilty for not following Wang Feng's orders. "It's good that you didn't go." Wang Feng waved his hand and said, "If you go, your boss will probably only be able to collect your corpses." Whale shark, given Long Xie's strength, even his 4 soul beasts wouldn't have been able to defeat the 3 soul beasts, let alone Long Xie. Once Long Xie made his move, the 3 of them would be dead meat. "Boss, we will become stronger," Whale Shark said, somewhat unconvinced. "Kun, don't you agree?" "That's for sure." Wang Feng smiled and nodded. They would definitely become stronger. If they continued to cultivate like this, as long as they didn't mess around, they would definitely become million-year soul beasts by Qing Qing's side. He just needed a certain amount of time. As for how long it would take, no one knew. In the distance, the Ice Empress and the Titan Snow Fiend Ape watched as the 700,000-year soul beasts, which were famous in the extreme north, surrounded that human. They would occasionally let out hearty laughter as they recounted their experiences over the past few years in an incomparably intimate manner. They felt it was unbelievable, especially the Ice Emperor. Was this a relationship that a human could have with soul beasts? So intimate? What did this human do to make these 700,000-year soul beasts so obedient and intimate? There was still some fear in his eyes. However, he remembered that this human had jumped into the extreme cold ice lake just to absorb the blood soul poison. That kind of fearless charm was extremely attractive even to soul beasts. The Ice Emperor seemed to understand a little. If Wang Feng knew the Ice Emperor's thoughts, he would probably laugh. Fearless of death? What a joke. If he didn't have the dustless glass body, he wouldn't have jumped into the lake to absorb the blood soul poison. He wouldn't even touch it. What a happy and harmonious atmosphere. The Titan snow demon ape sighed. I didn't expect a human to be so harmonious with so many soul beasts. In the extreme north, I've lived for so many years, but this is the first time I've seen such a situation. As he said that, there was a little envy in the Titan snow demon ape's eyes. For so many years, he had been alone, unlike these 7, who could be considered as his 7 siblings. The Ice Emperor snorted. After thinking for a while, the Ice Emperor walked towards Wang Feng and said, "Human, you want to know the situation in the extreme ice forbidden land?" Wang Feng didn't seem to be surprised by the Ice Emperor's visit. He looked at the Ice Emperor and nodded slightly. Ning Rongrong and Hulaina had gone to the absolute ice forbidden land. Just what was the situation in that place? If Wang Feng could understand it, that would naturally be for the best. If the Ice Emperor wasn't willing to tell him, then it didn't matter because he had to go there. "I wanted to kill you before." The Ice Emperor snorted coldly. "But Shen Bing stopped me." Wang Feng was stunned. After thinking for a while, he understood why the Ice Emperor wanted to kill him. "But now that you've resolved the blood soul poison, I thank you on behalf of my sister and the many ice soul beasts in the extreme north." The Ice Emperor said solemnly, "I can tell you the situation in the extreme ice forbidden land as a reward." The Titan snow demon ape behind him was stunned and hurriedly said, "Ice Emperor, you should ask him to save the Snow Empress." "How can you just—" Halfway through, the Ice Emperor interrupted the Titan snow demon ape. "There's no need to say any more. I won't let a human get close to my sister." Wang Feng couldn't help but laugh. He didn't want to save her either. The Snow Empress situation was that the blood soul origin poison, which was probably more troublesome. He wasn't familiar with the Snow Empress and had no obligation or responsibility to save her. What the Ice Empress did was in line with his wishes. Wang Feng thought that the Ice Emperor would ask him to save the Snow Empress in exchange for information about the extreme ice forbidden land after seeing that he had resolved the blood soul poison. "I'm all ears," Wang Feng said with a smile. The Ice Emperor snorted softly and continued, "The extreme ice forbidden land is a forbidden land in the extreme north. Even 100,000-year soul beast wouldn't dare to enter that place. That's because there's a powerful soul beast called the Ice Empress residing there. It's also the most ancient soul beast in the extreme north. It's even older than my sister and Granny Tree. It was born in the extreme north. Like my sister, it's the king of the fairies of heaven and earth. The reason why the inner circle of the extreme north has such extreme cold air is because of the cold air emitted by Qilin Lord Bing Mu's cultivation. Legend has it that it has the strength of a god. My sister and I have visited it in the absolute ice forbidden land before, but out of the 3 times, only my sister has met it. That's because only my sister has the right to meet it. It asked my sister to protect the extreme north well. If there's nothing important, it's not to be disturbed. In the extreme north, the Ice Empress is the strongest soul beast." Chapter 953. Wang Feng repeated the Ice Emperor's words several times in his mind. This Lin Lord Isimu, if there were no accidents, was most likely a million-year soul beast. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. If it was really a million-year soul beast and was born in the extreme north, then who knew how long it had lived for? If you humans step into the absolute ice forbidden land, I'm afraid you won't even be able to see Lin Lord Isimu, and will die outside the absolute ice palace. The cold air in that place seems to be able to easily freeze a person's soul. No matter how strong you are, it won't help. The Ice Emperor said indifferently, "Only by using the jadeite ice pearl produced by Granny Tree can one barely resist the absolute ice-cold air outside the absolute ice palace. However, even if you enter the absolute ice palace and disturb Lin Lord Isimu, only death awaits you. Because until now, The only one who can gain Lin Lord Isimu's trust is Sister. And this is also because the two races are similar. After the Ice Emperor finished speaking, he spat out a few crystal-like teardrops towards Wang Feng. Wang Feng immediately grabbed them. This is the jadeite ice pearl. After you crush it, you can resist the absolute ice-cold air. However, I advise you not to go there. Human, no matter how strong your calculations are, you won't be a match for Lin Lord Isimu in the extreme north. After the Ice Emperor finished speaking, he turned around and left. Wang Feng muttered to himself for a moment, looking at the jadeite ice pearl in his hand that was still emitting a faint fragrance. It was the size of a teardrop, and a strange and magnificent color was brewing inside. The granny tree mentioned by the Ice Emperor should be the ice-armored jadeite tree emperor, the most ancient soul beast in the extreme north. Wang Feng muttered. After thinking for a while, Wang Feng looked at the 7 soul beasts and said, "The few of you don't have to follow me. Right? Iron Fox, you're the smartest. Go to the outer circle and inquire about the 2 evil soul masters. How far have they progressed? Were they attacking? I need to go to the absolute ice forbidden land immediately. I can't delay." The absolute ice forbidden land was so dangerous. If Rong Rong and Hu Laina went there, the situation would be very dangerous. Naturally, it was better to go as soon as possible. Otherwise, if something really happened, it would be troublesome. But the other side was also very troublesome, although the blood soul poison had been dealt with. However, the 2 human soul masters brought a large number of soul beasts that were controlled by the blood soul poison to attack the humans. They even had 10,000-year soul beasts as helpers. Wang Feng did not know what was going on with Tang San, so he planned to let Iron Fox, who was the smartest among them, go and see what was going on. Furthermore, it was fast and small, making it difficult to detect. "All right," Thunder Spiritual Fox said in a deep voice. After instructing them, Wang Feng temporarily bid farewell to them and quickly headed towards the absolute ice forbidden land. On the other side, the Ice Emperor returned to the extreme ice layer and returned to where the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor was. The Ice Emperor was startled when he sensed a faint blood aura coming from the ceiling. "Grandma Tree, how is my sister?" the Ice Emperor asked as he quickly climbed up the tree. "I'm afraid that child won't be able to hold on for much longer." The Jade Spirit Tree Emperor's icy blue crystal-like body now had a long trail of blood starting from the top of its branches. It looked extremely horrifying. It extended from the top of the tree to a length of about 300 meters. The Ice Emperor's heart sank. The blood soul origin poison in his sister was suppressed by the Azure Emperor and Grandma Tree together. Grandma Tree's situation was not good now. Then his sister's situation should be the same. The Ice Emperor flew to the top of the tree and looked at the scene in front of him, but he was slightly stunned. The top of the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor looked like a nest made of ice crystals. There were droplet-like branches and leaves hanging at the top. It was like a star pendant with a dreamlike beauty. However, these droplet pendants were burning with a blood-red color. From the branches and leaves around the nest, strands of ice-colored energy flowed. It was like thousands of streams returning to the sea, pouring into the body of a woman in the center. The woman's body was snow white. As countless energy converged, her body flickered with the colors of ice and blood intertwined. However, at this moment, she was naked, revealing her body that was created by the heavens and earth, as well as her beautiful icy face. Beside her, there was a green divine bird that was as radiant as an immortal. At this moment, the golden feathers on its head were emitting a dazzling golden light, converging into the heart in the woman's chest that was shining like an ice crystal core, resisting the extremely dense blood energy. However, at this moment, most of the woman's body was already dyed with a faint blood color. Only the heart and head in the center were surrounded by the golden energy and had not been completely penetrated. However, the situation was obviously not good. The Ice Emperor, who had just arrived, was shocked when he saw this scene. "Sister," an anxious and somewhat sorrowful voice came from above. Ning Rongrong, who was carrying by Chinxiang on her back, spat out streams of icy mist. Streams of scorching aura formed a light barrier, barely enveloping them. As far as the eye could see, the surroundings were endless white. The scorching aura came from Ma Hongjun and Yin of the Golden Generation in front of them. It was inconceivable. They were once enemies, but now they were working together to resist this endless cold. A month ago, the two empires and the remaining sects joined the Martial Soul Alliance, and then the soul beasts at the northern border started a riot. The higher-ups of the Alliance headquarters had already noticed this. However, soul beast riots were not new. Over the years, both empires had encountered them before. They did not pay much attention to it. However, they still sent important people to the northern border to find out the truth. At that time, the faction led by Tang San wanted to use this opportunity to suppress the Alliance. They wanted to find out the reason for the soul beast riots. Ning Rongrong of the Seven Monsters volunteered to make a trip to the extreme north. She also brought Ma Hongjun by Qinxiang, Oscar, Shun Lingqi, and dozens of elite Tang sect disciples and Seven Treasures Glaze sect disciples. With the Bon Douluo leading the team, it was a grand lineup. However, the Martial Soul Alliance had sent 3 members of the Golden Generation, including the Holy Lady and dozens of powerful individuals from the Martial Soul Alliance. In addition, a titled Douluo led the team to the northern border to find out the situation. After that, they entered the outer circle of the extreme north to find out more about the Soul Beast riots. But who would have thought that the 2 teams from different camps would be attacked one after another? They suffered heavy losses. Until now, there were less than 10 people left. The danger of the extreme north was far beyond their imagination. In this place, even using soul skills required 20 to 30% more soul power than usual. Unless it was an ice-type martial soul, the strength of other martial souls would be greatly reduced in this place. It didn't take long for the 2 teams to enter the mysterious area. For this reason, the 2 teams decided to work together after discussing. This was because Hulaina had Yin, who had the Flame Lord Martial Soul. In addition, Ma Hongjun had the Fire Phoenix Martial Soul. Chapter 954. With the 2 of them working together, they were barely able to resist the terrifying cold air in this mysterious place. There were no special ice trees in this place. There were only huge, oddly shaped icicles and endless icebergs. Other than that, there seemed to be no other life. The team of more than 10 people barely managed to walk in this place. They had been walking for a few days. The cold air in this place was even scarier than in the inner circle of the extreme north. There was an extremely strong cold current in the air. Any flying-type soul master would be frozen into a popsicle the moment they flew into the air. Then, they would fall to the ground and shatter into countless pieces. Even the Bon Douluo dared to fly in the air to find out what this place was. Grandpa Gu, how much longer can we walk? Ning Rongrong's face was covered in blood. Her exquisite face looked extremely tired. The blood had formed scabs, and she looked like she was disfigured. At this moment, even she, who loved to look beautiful, was not in the mood to care. The others were about the same. In comparison, Ning Rongrong, who was also an auxiliary-type soul master, seemed to be much stronger. It was very strange. For example, by Qinxiang and Shun Lingqi, even with the hot auras released by Yin and Ma Hongjun, they could not withstand it. In front, the Bon Douluo looked a little gloomy. He looked around solemnly. In the end, he smiled and said, Rongrong, don't worry. We will get out. Grandpa Gu will bring you out. Okay. Ning Rongrong became more alert. She recalled her original intention of coming to the extreme north. Instead, he sighed. Wang Feng, if I die here, will you be sad? The Bon Douluo led the team in front. Behind him were Hulaina and her brother, Evil Moon. These 3 were not much weaker than them. They had also passed the Sea Gods Islands test. Their soul power was a few ranks lower. As the Holy Lady, Hulaina was not inferior to the Shrek's 7 monsters. At this moment, her skull glowed. The beautiful and charming heavenly fox martial soul appeared behind her. The star mark on her martial soul's forehead shone brightly. It emitted a gentle aura that enveloped the team and restored their soul power. I can't hold on for much longer. Oscar, who had replicated Ma Hongjuan's martial soul with the mirror intestine, shouted loudly. Oscar had used up a lot of the spare sausages he had stored up during the battle with the soul beasts. For example, the crystal hairfly intestine that could instantly have one's soul power, physical strength, and spiritual power, and the golden fly intestine that could completely heal injuries. Originally, each of them had stored one, but now they were all used up. In the beginning, he relied on Shunlingqi's rainbow, riotous beer to barely block out the cold air. However, the consumption was simply too great. The more he walked, the more severe the cold became. What was even more frightening was that he couldn't walk out at all. The only good thing about this place was that there weren't any rampaging soul beasts. It was terrifyingly quiet. Actually, everyone knew that the rampaging soul beasts didn't chase after them. This meant that even the rampaging soul beasts were afraid of this area. At that time, there was no other way but to escape into this place. Sister, we might not be able to get out of this place. Behind them, Evil Moon said in a low voice, Yin and that fatty won't be able to hold on for long. Not only did we not gain anything, we even lost our lives. We are really ashamed of teachers nurturing and ashamed of the alliance. Hulaina pursed her dry and cracked lips and didn't say anything. This time, if it weren't for Yin and Fatty Ma of Shrek's 7 monsters, they might not be able to move an inch. However, even if their martial souls were strong, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. At most, after half a day, their martial souls wouldn't be able to hold on. Everyone would be exposed in this place, frozen into ice pillars. Thinking of this, Hulaina looked at the ice pillars and murmured, These ice pillars should be the soul beasts or humans that accidentally entered this place, right? Evil Moon was stunned. Those ice pillars weren't transparent, and they couldn't see clearly what they were. However, their shapes were indeed different. All kinds of ice soul beasts in the extreme north would be frozen into ice pillars if they accidentally entered this place. Not to mention them. At this moment, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the front. It was Ma Hongjuan's voice. Look, there seems to be an ancient palace in front. If we go there, we might be saved. Everyone was stunned when they heard the voice. They all looked forward. In the distance, there was indeed a palace, a mysterious palace carved out of ice crystals. It looked majestic and ancient, and it was especially prominent in this land of ice and snow. The Bon Douluo frowned slightly as he looked at the palace. There were no other buildings around it, only countless ice pillars. However, that place gave him a vague sense of fear. It directly told him that he couldn't go near that palace. But now, there was nowhere else to go. Everyone looked at the Bon Douluo. Let's go take a look. The Bon Douluo pondered for a moment. If they continued like this, they would die. They might as well go in and take a risk. The group cautiously approached the ancient palace. The palace was cylindrical, and the closer they got, the more they could feel the majesty of this palace, as well as the ancient aura it exuded. There was even a hint of godlike majesty. It was just like the Sea God's palace they saw on Sea God's Island. 5,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 1,000 meters. Everyone slowly approached, and they became more and more nervous. However, the cold air seemed to be getting heavier and heavier. No. Suddenly, the Bon Douluo shouted, We can't go there. Retreat. The change in the cold air caused the Bon Douluo's fear to reach an extreme. If they really entered that palace, what awaited them would definitely be death. Everyone was stunned. It was at this moment that they were stunned. In the next moment, the countless ice pillars surrounding the palace shattered. The moment the ice pillars shattered, countless soul beasts ran out from the pillars and rushed towards the group. Indeed, the soul beasts that had accidentally entered this place were sealed in these ice pillars. But at this moment, they strangely broke out of the ice and rushed towards them. From afar, the group was like a whirlpool, and the soul beasts that broke out of the ice around them pounced towards them. The soul beasts that filled the sky were like locusts, and they were extremely terrifying. In an instant, everyone was dumbfounded. Ning Rongrong screamed as she looked at the sky full of soul beasts pouncing towards them. The Nine Treasures star glazed pagoda in her hand emitted a final ray of light that fell on everyone's body. Then, she closed her eyes. The rest of the people were overwhelmed with shock. They were completely dumbfounded by this sudden scene. Yin and Ma Hongjuan's martial souls trembled, and the blazing aura that enveloped everyone instantly disappeared. Instantly, everyone's bodies were covered with layers of frost at a visible speed. Even the Douluo was an exception. At this moment, a scarlet-green sword light came from afar like a thunderbolt. P.S. There should be 4 more attacks tonight. Chapter 955. The scarlet-green sword light was like a dancing dragon as it tore through the sky. It tore through the cold currents and destroyed everything at this critical moment. Swish, swish, swish. The sword light was like a divine light descending from the heavens. It broke through the ice like a swarm of locusts and was instantly sliced into several pieces by this sword light. There was no blood. These soul beasts were already dead. Right now, they were completely under the control of the ice, or perhaps they were under the influence of their instincts. They subconsciously attacked any living being that dared to invade this area. They were like puppets. Dong, dong, dong. Countless limbs fell to the ground, and dull thuds could be heard. The thuds woke everyone up, and they looked at the sky in shock. The scarlet-green sword light formed a sword net in midair, and it seemed to wipe out all the soul beasts. As light flashed, it destroyed all the soul beasts. It was a shocking sight. Yes, Captain, Ma Hongjun shouted excitedly. After that, his lower body was completely sealed in ice. The tough ice exuded boundless cold energy. In this area near the palace, even his martial soul was exhausted and couldn't do anything. The lower half of his body that was sealed in ice was gradually losing feeling. However, he was still very excited. When they heard Ma Hongjuan's voice, the rest of them immediately reacted. Who else could have this scarlet-green sword light apart from Wang Feng? All right, the Douluo shouted, and his skeleton martial soul emerged from his body. It sliced off the limbs that were falling towards them. In such an extremely cold environment, only a titled Dalu like him still had some fighting strength left. Only his legs were sealed in ice. This ice wasn't ordinary ice. Even with the Douluo's abilities, he couldn't break free in a short period of time. No wonder these soul beasts were sealed in ice pillars. They couldn't escape no matter what. After a short while, all the soul beasts that broke out of the ice pillars were destroyed. This won't do. However, the Douluo glanced at everyone worriedly. More than half of them had been sealed in ice, and even if they circulated what little soul power they had left, they wouldn't be able to resist the extreme cold in this place. If this continued, they would only end up like the soul beasts that had barged into this place. They would be sealed in ice. At this moment, a human figure suddenly appeared in the distance. His entire body was covered in a blood-red halo, and there was a pair of blood-red wings on his back. He looked like he was full of vigor. It was Wang Feng. Fortunately, I came in time. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. He had used his soul-devouring blood wings to teleport here. He had used it several times in a row, because the more he thought about it, the more dangerous the absolute ice forbidden zone became. Therefore, he had no choice but to use instant transmission to rush over, even though the consumption was huge. At this moment, he could already see Ning Rongrong and the others. Seeing them gradually being frozen, Wang Fengxin's heart tightened. Sigh. Although Rongrong is easy to deceive and coax, he still cares about her. Wang Fengxin said. His entire being was like a beam of blood-red light as he sped away. He was now in his peak state. After all, he had buffed himself and even activated 3 blood gold patterns. The power of the blood gold patterns was very unique. Unlike when the blood mark was activated, the special emotions within it would cause a huge impact on the mind. Now that he had activated the blood gold patterns, there was no such impact. Instead, there was a peaceful feeling. Sprinting at full speed, Wang Feng finally arrived in front of them when only one of their heads was not frozen. Teacher, Captain, Lord Popetiff. Several gazes were fixed on Wang Feng. Wang Feng's palm suddenly flung forward. Like a fairy scattering flowers, he threw out the jade essence ice pearl given by the Ice Emperor. Wang Feng could also break the ice on their bodies, but it would take some effort. With the jade essence ice pearl given by the Ice Emperor, as long as the Ice Emperor did not lie, he could instantly break the ice. The jade spirit ice beads, which were more than 10 meters long, accurately hit each and every one of them. Then, they instantly exploded, turning into a cloud of mist that seeped into the layer of ice on everyone's body. Immediately, the ice on their bodies began to rapidly melt, and then everyone's body was covered in a layer of faint icy light. The frozen state was immediately broken, but everyone was softly lying on the ground. After being frozen for only a short while, frostbite appeared on their bodies. They had even completely lost their consciousness. The extreme cold chi of the absolute ice forbidden land is much stronger than the inner circle. Wang Feng's eyes focused. The golden lotus in his palm spun out. Under the golden light, everyone quickly recovered. Withdrawing the golden lotus, Wang Feng called out the green lotus flag, which emitted a faint azure light. The green lotus flag also had a recovery effect, but it was not as strong as the golden lotus. But it had the advantage of continuous recovery and could also recover mental energy. Under the double recovery, the injuries on their bodies quickly disappeared. Seeing this, Wang Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he came in time. If he came a little later, they would be finished. Using the Jade Essence Ice Pearl meant that they could temporarily resist the cold chi here. Wang Feng was not worried. The next step was to bring them out of this place. According to the Ice Emperor, once one entered the absolute ice forbidden land, the space would change, and the strong cold chi would distort the space. The only way out was to enter the absolute ice palace and obtain the approval of the Ice Emperor Qilin Lord to leave this place. Thinking of this, Wang Feng knew that this place was definitely a special domain, and it was not an ordinary domain. It was similar to the Rakshasa secret domain, the capital of slaughter, and the Sea God Island. Then it could be inferred, this place is very likely to be the inheritance of a god. Wang Feng's eyes flickered as he looked at the absolute ice palace in the distance. If that Ice Emperor Qilin Lord was real, it was very likely to be a powerful soul beast that relied on this inheritance of a god to cultivate. Of course, it was also possible that it was more powerful and had lived for a long time, which was related to this god. That was why it cultivated in this place. Although Wang Feng was surprised that there was an inheritance of a god in the extreme north, it was not that he could not understand. With such thoughts in mind, the crowd gradually recovered and stood up one after another. Wang Feng. Woo, I knew you would come to save me. Ning Rongrong was the first to hug Wang Feng. She was like a little bear climbing a tree, hanging on Wang Feng's body, which was very unsightly. But she cried like a weeping beauty. I really thought I was going to die just now. I thought I had the final radiance of the setting sun and saw you. Look at you. How did you become so ugly? Wang Feng patted Ning Rongrong's shoulder and said snappily, Ugly people are not qualified to hug me. Obediently come down. Now, there's an urgent matter. Ning Rongrong. Everyone. I don't want it. Ning Rongrong said coquettishly, I am not ugly. I will hug you right now. If you have the ability, let me come down by myself. Ha ha. After saying that, her hands and legs tightly wrapped around Wang Feng's neck and waist. You really have no shame. Wang Feng's body shook. Under the deified state, the lightning and thunder added to Wang Feng's body overflowed. Chapter 956. Ah! Ning Rongrong suddenly let out a high-pitched scream. Her whole body began to tremble. Her face was flushed with embarrassment. Her hands and feet subconsciously loosened, and she fell from Wang Feng's body softly. In the end, Wang Feng held her waist with his hand, and she didn't lie on the ground again. Wang Feng, you bastard. You actually used lightning against me. Ning Rongrong lay on Wang Feng's side. She was so angry that she wanted to punch him with her fists, but she didn't have any strength. You said it. I told you to come down yourself. Wang Feng handed Ning Rongrong to Bai Chenxiang and Shun Lingqi. You two hold her first. We can't delay now. This is the absolute ice forbidden land of the extreme north, and the only exit is indeed in that palace. Follow me to take a look. The girls looked at Ning Rongrong with flushed faces. Captain Soul Skill is really a peerless divine skill. Ma Hongjun chuckled a few times. Oscar also chuckled a few times. Bai Chenxiang and Shun Lingqi glared at him a few times, and he kept quiet out of fear, not daring to laugh out loud. On the other side, Hulaina looked at Wang Feng in a daze, and her face flushed red. Sister, you have to take the initiative. Evil Moon coughed a few times and whispered, Look at that Ning Rongrong. She doesn't have any girl's modesty. But men like this cough. Lord Popediff definitely has you in his heart. When he released his soul skill just now, he looked at you a few times. Moreover, sister, your martial soul and charm are much stronger than that Ning Rongrong. As long as you take the initiative, Lord Popediff will definitely accept you. With that, Hulaina couldn't help but glare at Evil Moon a few times. Brother. Evil Moon hurriedly turned around, as if he didn't say anything. Only Hulaina was secretly looking at Wang Feng. She thought to herself, could it be that what Wang Feng said was true? If it's true, then at this moment, Douluo asked, Little Feng, why are you here? As Wang Feng led the group to the temple, he gave a rough account of what had happened. Blood soul poison, evil soul master, the soul beast army. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't think that such a simple soul beast riot would have so many things hidden behind it. Even evil soul masters have appeared. Even though Wang Feng had dispelled the blood soul poison, he was still a little worried about the army of soul beasts that the two evil soul masters commanded. He just wanted to get them out of here as soon as possible and return to the northern border to check on the situation. The group of people was shocked and silent as they listened to Wang Feng. At this moment, everyone had arrived at the entrance of the palace. It was as if they were standing in front of a door of ice that would never melt. It was as if they were standing in front of Pandora's magic box. Once they opened it, no one knew what kind of danger they would encounter. But no matter how strong it was, Wang Feng wasn't afraid, even if it was a million-year soul beast. With his current strength, it would be difficult for him to kill a million-year soul beast, but it wasn't impossible. He was no longer the same Wang Feng who needed to team up with Bibi Dan to defeat Long Xie. At this moment, just as Wang Feng was about to open the door opened by itself. Everyone was stunned and started to feel nervous. Following this, a loud roar could be heard from within the palace. When the door opened, a huge beast that was more than 10 meters long appeared in front of everyone. This huge beast had a pair of wings and looked like a western dragon. It was very majestic and had 2 dragon horns on its head. It had an icy blue body and a pair of faint red wings. It was just that its body was a little illusory. Hulaina's heart skipped a beat. Suddenly, her skull started to light up. An illusory figure shone from her skull. It was a beautiful fox. However, this fox's illusory figure was very faint. Right now, it had a blank look on its face, as if it didn't have much consciousness. It only looked at the huge beast in front of it, as if it didn't know anything. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Captain, is this the Icewood Qilin Lord you were talking about? It seems to be a 10,000-year soul beast. No, it's not completely. It doesn't seem to have a physical body, Ma Hongjun said in surprise. Upon closer inspection, Ma Hongjun realized that the huge beast that was more than 10 meters long inside the door was also in an illusory state, but it was more solid. Therefore, it looked like it was real. It's not. Wang Feng's eyes sparkled. The soul beast in front of him was the Ice Emperor Lizard, and the little fox on Hulaina's body was the Star Moon Fox. Yes, they were Xing Xing and Yia. Back then, because of the ice dragon whale, these two fellows perished in the aftermath of the battle. In the end, they had no choice but to become human soul rings and entrust their remnant consciousness to their soul bones. Evidently, Xing Xing in Yi's state was much worse than Long Xie's sacrifice. Long Xie's spiritual power and soul were extremely strong. Even if he took the initiative to sacrifice, his soul could still be stored in Wang Feng's soul ring and not dissipate. The sacrifice of a million-year soul beast was completely different from that of a 100,000-year soul beast. Furthermore, Xing Xing and Yi were only 10,000-year soul beasts. Only a trace of their souls was left. If Wang Feng hadn't used the golden lotus to help them improve and cause them to mutate, they wouldn't have been able to retain this trace of their souls. Since Yi is here, does that mean Shui Bing should be here too? Wang Feng's pupils shrank slightly. Because of this problem, Shui Bing's soul bone couldn't even use her fourth soul skill normally. Later, Wang Feng found out that Shui Bing went to the extreme north to cultivate because her martial soul and Yi were more suitable for this place. Looking at the current situation, it seemed that Yi's soul had been repaired. Could it be that Shui Bing also came to the absolute ice forbidden land? And even, Wang Feng, what should we do? Ning Rongrong pulled Wang Feng's sleeve. Then, he looked at Hulaina and thought to himself, she's indeed a fox. Why are they both foxes? Wang Feng was silent for a moment. The golden lotus in his palm spun and emitted a bright light. Instantly, the icy emperor lizard's body shook. It stared at the golden lotus and calmed down. On the other side, the star moon fox on Hulaina's body was the same. Seeing this, Wang Feng sighed softly. It seemed that Shui Bing really had a fortuitous encounter here. Otherwise, Yi's consciousness would have recovered so well. Compared to the consciousness of Xing Xing in Hulaina's soul bone, it was much better. Shui Bing's martial soul had mutated because it absorbed Yi's soul ring and soul bone. She had turned into an icy divine phoenix and was extremely talented. It could be said that she was perfectly compatible with the extreme north. It was normal for her to be able to obtain a fortuitous encounter here. Sure enough, at this moment, as Yi's figure calmed down, a clear voice sounded softly. "Nine Open, it's really you." This name, which had a slight historical aura, caused everyone to tremble at this moment. Immediately after, two figures walked out from behind Yi. The person who spoke was Shui Bing. Chapter 9:57. Everyone was even more astonished. The last time they saw her was during the Soul Master Tournament. Counting in this way, it had been close to 9 years. Even her sister, Ning Rongrong, and the rest had seen her before they went to the Sea God's Island. At this moment, Yi's projection and Xing Xing's projection surrounded the Golden Lotus. They were even leaning against Wang Feng intimately. Wang Feng's gaze landed on Shui Bing. During the Soul Master Tournament, Shui Bing wasn't very old. She was even younger than Dai Mubai, who was almost 18 years old. Now that 9 years had passed, Shui Bing had indeed grown up a lot. She had also become taller. She had also lost her youthfulness and become much more mature. Bing Yin's pretty face was even emitting a dazzling glow. Her aura was clear and cold. Although she had a smile on her face, she gave off an extremely cold feeling. This feeling came entirely from her power and not from her own will. Beside her was her sister, Shui Yu. In everyone's eyes, she had also changed a lot. However, compared to her sister, she was much weaker. What shocked everyone was her soul power rank. She was a rank 89 soul, Douluo. Her sister, Shui Yu, was at level 78. Her soul power rank was even higher than Ning Rongrong and the rest. Rongrong. Shui Yu looked at Ning Rongrong and pursed her lips into a smile. She hurriedly walked over. "You are indeed here." Wang Feng looked at Shui Bing. After that, he looked at the palace behind her. "This place should be the God's Inheritance Palace, right? It seems like you have obtained the God's Inheritance over the past few years." Shui Bing was stunned. She nodded slightly and walked in front of Wang Feng. She said, "That's right. A few years after the tournament, I realized that my cultivation in the academy was too slow. Due to Yiya's consciousness, I came to the extreme north at the beginning of the 3rd year. Wang Feng calculated. At that time, he should have come out of the extreme north and was in the city of Massacre. Later, when he came out of Slaughter City and traveled the continent, he found out that Shui Binger went to the extreme north. This place is indeed the land of inheritance of the gods. I didn't expect you to know about it. Shui Binger's beautiful eyes turned slightly. Although she was emitting a cold aura, she still had a gentle smile on her face. You've been here all these years? Accept the gods' inheritance test? Wang Feng asked. If that was the case, then it would be easy. With Shui Binger's status, it should be easy for her to take Ning Rongrong and the others away. In that case, there would be no need for any battle. No, I came here 4 years ago. Speaking of which, I have to thank you for being able to come here. Shui Bing covered her mouth and chuckled. You pacified Yiya's consciousness, and I came to the extreme north. Later, driven by Yiya's consciousness, I went to a very magical treasure land. After that, he encountered a powerful and beautiful soul beast. Her name was Qing Huang. When I came to the extreme north, Yaya instinctively told me to get close to Qing Huang. Later, Qing Huang woke up from her cultivation and saw me. She said that Yiya was her former companion. She sensed the aura of your golden lotus on me and asked me if I knew you. I said I knew you. Thus, she allowed me to stay and cultivate in that precious land. She also tried her best to restore Yiya's consciousness, although the effect was not great. Hearing this, Wang Feng nodded slightly. It was rare to have an opportunity in life. When Shui Bing went to the extreme north, Wang Feng guessed that she might meet Qing and the others. Because with Qing's strength, she would definitely discover Yiya's consciousness in Shui Binger's soul bone once she saw her. During the time he was in the extreme north, he had told her about it. That is a real treasure land, Shui Binger said softly. I followed Qing Huang to cultivate. 2 years later, she became a 100,000-year soul beast. During that time, she gave me the remaining soul crystals for cultivation. She also gave me some natural treasures without any side effects. So I cultivated to over rank 70. At the same time, she asked me not to disturb the cultivation of the other soul beasts. After Sister Qing Huang became a 100,000-year soul beast, I also wanted to go and gain some experience alone. So I said goodbye to Sister Qing Huang and walked out. Then I accidentally stumbled into this place. Fortunately, Sister Qing Huang gave me those natural treasures. In addition to my powerful martial soul, I wasn't frozen by the cold air here. Then I came to this palace in a daze. I was valued by the god here. He said that as long as I passed the test, I could become a god and revive Yiya. Shui Binger said slowly. Wang Fengxin said, Are you a koi? You obtained the god's inheritance so easily? Wang Fengxin mourned for Tang San and the others. Look at Shui Binger. She was a real pig-trotter. She had a smooth journey, and with Qing's help, she directly soared and obtained the god's inheritance. F*CK Don would be heartbroken if he saw this. Tang San would also cry if he saw this. Later, I asked my sister to come here and cultivate with me. Shui Binger said slowly. Everyone was confused when they heard this. They didn't know anything about Qing Huang, but with Shui Binger's smooth journey, inheriting the god's position, this was simply too easy. But Wang Feng knew that he had a lot to do with this. It wasn't a direct relationship, but an indirect one. If Shui Binger only had a mutated martial soul, she wouldn't be able to reach this step. If Wang Feng didn't use the golden lotus to help her calm Yiya's consciousness, she might still be in the 40s and be troubled by the soul ring. If Wang Feng didn't stay in the extreme north for 2 years, even if Shui Binger came to the extreme north, it would be extremely dangerous. Not to mention that she cultivated beside Qing Huang, in the 4 extremes nature manifestation valley, and Qing Huang gave her natural treasures. Later, she could enter this palace and obtain the god's inheritance because of these prerequisites. Otherwise, this god wouldn't have taken a fancy to Shui Bing-er. So, 9-1, Shui Bing-er's beautiful eyes flickered. Thank you. It's your own opportunity. Wang Feng waved his hand. By the way, 9-1, the god here is a little special. Shui Bing suddenly said, it's hard for me to inherit all the power of this god alone. I originally wanted my sister to inherit it together with me. It's a pity that my talent isn't as good as my sister's. Shui Yu sighed. The god doesn't like me. I originally wanted to go back and find Mubai earlier, but the soul beasts outside are rioting recently. My sister told me not to go back first. Upon hearing this, everyone seemed to understand a little. This was especially true for Ning Rongrong and the others when they had left the Sea God's Island. When they left the Sea God Island, they wanted to bring Shui Yu along, but Dai Mubai said that Shui Yu was summoned by her sister to the extreme north to cultivate together. So, she didn't go with them, Shui Bing, and nodded slightly and looked at Wang Feng. 9-1, your talent is so strong. Why don't you inherit the power of this god with me? Lord Water God will definitely think highly of you. When the time comes, you can also revive Yiya. She spoke very softly, and there was only a pure invitation in her tone. It was as pure as her heart. Wang Feng. After thinking for a while, Wang Feng slowly opened his mouth. P.S. Today is 7. Chapter 958. Outside this big door, Shui Bing-er's experience and words shocked everyone. Inherit the power of a god together? There is such a great thing? Ning Rongrong held Wang Feng's hand tightly. This Shui Bing-er didn't seem to have a deep relationship with Wang Feng. Why did it seem like they knew each other? And what the hell was that soul beast Qing Huang-er? How did it have anything to do with Wang Feng? Wang Feng didn't tell Ning Rongrong about this. Previously, he briefly explained the situation. Wang Feng only said that he was poisoned by the blood soul poison in the extreme ice layer. He didn't elaborate. Ning Rongrong naturally didn't know. Everyone looked at Wang Feng. Wang Feng slowly said, no need. My situation is more complicated. I can't inherit the power of a god for the time being. Of course, he wouldn't choose Shui Bing-er to inherit the power of a god together. Although Wang Feng absorbed the power of the 3 gods in a row, it was impossible for him to inherit it. Even if the water god mentioned by Shui Bing needed 2 people to inherit it, Wang Feng couldn't inherit it. Can't inherit it, Shui Bing-er was stunned. Was this a rejection? No. Shui Bing-er hurriedly said, Lord Water God told me that as long as one's talent meets the standard, he can definitely inherit it with me. Speaking of this, Shui Bing suddenly looked at Wang Feng. Then she sighed and said, all right, since you don't want to, then I won't force you. She still wanted to inherit the god position with him. This way, she could revive Yaya, and she was indeed lacking a person who could inherit the god position with her. By the way, you should want to leave here, right? Shui Bing-er looked at the rest and said softly, I'll let you take you away later. She's also leaving here. Shui Bing-er saw the rejection in Wang Feng's eyes. Although they hadn't seen each other for 9 years, and his appearance and aura had changed greatly, the uniqueness of his martial soul made Shui Bing-er know that she couldn't be wrong. With a 9, 1 chance of strength and talent, he should have become even stronger. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, especially Ning Rongrong. If the real Wang Feng really stayed to inherit the god position with Shui Bing, what would she do? At this time, Shui Yu suddenly said, Elder sister, have you forgotten that if you can't find someone who can inherit the divine position with you, Lord Linjun would not let them leave the shrine so easily. I won't help you save Yaya. Hearing this, Shui Bing-er's expression changed. He seemed to have thought of something as well, and his complexion turned awful. What happened? Wang Feng frowned slightly. Was there something else going on? He had been wondering why he hadn't seen that Lin Lord Ice Empress after being here for so long. Come in first, she took a look outside. The shattered bodies of the soul beasts that Wang Feng's flying swords had sliced to shreds were trembling at this moment. Then it began to tremble. Then it quickly reassembled and recovered. In just a short moment, it had already returned to its original state. Then it was once again frozen into a stone pillar, standing on this snowy land. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. This place is too strange. The soul beasts and the icicles seem to be controlled by someone. This place is the absolute ice forbidden land of the extreme north. Shui Bing led everyone into the palace and said softly, "The only ones who are qualified to enter this place are the two overlords of the extreme north. If other soul beasts don't have the strength to enter this place, their souls will be frozen. There's a special domain in this place. This domain has changed part of the rules of this forbidden land. You are able to come here alive because you used the Jade Spirit Ice Pearl of the Jade Spirit Tree Emperor. However, this item won't last for long." They walked into the palace of ice and snow. They realized that the interior was like a small world. It was extremely vast. It was like an ice crystal palace. Even the ground was covered in strange icicles. When one's footsteps landed on it, it would give off a snowflake-like shape. It was moist, as though one was stepping on water. At the strongest side, there were two statues. Both of them were female and looked like companions. One of them should be the water god that Shui Bing mentioned. Because her body was covered in layers of water, her face was gentle and beautiful, making people feel close to her. Her temperament was somewhat similar to Shui Bing. However, the other one was covered in frost-like armor and scales. She was holding a spear that was formed from ice. She was valiant and majestic. Amidst her beauty, there was a hint of fortitude. Her temperament was similar to Shui Bing's. This is the water god and the ice god. Other than that, if you want to enter this place, you have to possess the strength of these two gods. Shui Bing looked into the distance and said softly, although Bing didn't obtain the water god's favor, she was recognized by the water god. After spending a few years, she passed the 4 tests. Therefore, she can barely enter this place. The other method is to obtain the recognition of the manager of this place, Lin Lord Bing Mu, who was once a friend of the water god. Otherwise, you can't leave this place. At this point, Shui Bing smiled bitterly and said, "Before I came out, I sensed the aura of Jikai. Therefore, I told Lin Lord Bing Mu to let you inherit the power of the gods with me. As Lin Lord Bing Mu is a friend of the water god, he hopes that the water god's power can be passed down completely. He promised me that as long as I can find another person to inherit the water god's power, you can leave safely. I will make things difficult for you. And I will inherit all of the ice god's power." Everyone was enlightened when they heard this. Shui Bing must have sensed Wang Feng's aura when he was exterminating those soul beasts. At that time, she should have considered how to send Ning Rongrong and the rest out of this place. So troublesome? Wang Feng looked at the two statues. They were emitting a grand and gentle aura. Water god and ice god. Actually, it's not troublesome. Shui Yuer was speechless. This is an opportunity. Look, I can't even inherit it even if I want to. Why would elder sister think that you would reject it? Look at that statue. Shui Yuer looked at the statue beside the water god with reverence. This is the ice god. She is a compatriot of the water god. Both of them are connected. Although they aren't real sisters, they were once best friends. It can be said that regardless of soul beasts or humans, they can't leave water. Legend has it that in the ancient era of the Douluo world, the continent dried up. After 100 years of drought, even the sea dried up by 3/4. At that time, it was the water god and her companion who came out. They walked the world and saved the dry continent, allowing the world to regain its vitality. She received the respect and faith of countless living beings. She was honored as the water god. Later on, the water god and her companion, the ice god, came here and met Lin Lord Bing Mu. They discovered that because of the cold air formed by Lin Lord Bing Mu's cultivation, it formed a unique region of extreme ice. However, it affected many other soul beasts. End of chapter. Chapter 9:59. Helplessly, the ice god and the water god built this absolute ice domain to restrain the cold air emitted by Lin Lord Bingmu. After that, they became best friends with Lin Lord Bingmu. This made the living beings here very grateful to them and respectfully called the water god's companion the ice god. Later, the water god and the ice god built their own land of inheritance in this absolute ice domain. As time passed, the extreme north underwent great changes. The humans who used to live here also migrated along with the changes in the continent. In the end, only soul beasts remained. Those who truly know about the two of them are few and far between. Shui Yuer sighed. Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. The water god and the ice god seemed to be even more ancient than the sea god and the angel god. However, the strength of these gods had little to do with how long they had lived. If one thought about it carefully, water was an element of heaven and earth and had existed since ancient times. The water god was an elemental god, so it was normal for him to be ancient. That era was probably the desolate era. He was even older than the angel god. In addition, water was too widespread and was not as recognizable as the angel god and the sea god. There were only a few people who knew about it now. Also, it seemed that during that era, there were still humans living in the extreme north. Unlike now, where there were only soul beasts. So, to be able to inherit the power of the ice god and be compatible with my sister, if it were anyone else, they would wake up laughing in their dreams. Shui Yuer looked at Wang Feng and hinted crazily, "You have to know that the water god and the ice god were partners in that era. The water god was not good at fighting, but the ice god was extremely good at fighting. The two of them complemented each other and relied on each other. It could be said that they were a perfect match. Everyone, Shui Yuer, Wang Feng, this blatant hint was too much for Shui Yuer to accept. Her face blushed a little. However, everyone understood that it was a dual god position. Therefore, Shui Yuer needed to find another person to inherit the position of god, to inherit the power of the water god. Ning Rongrong at the side could not bear it anymore. She pulled Shui Yuer's arm and snorted coldly. So what? Wang Feng did not care about the ice god and water god positions. Wang Feng had rejected the previous sea god, so let's forget about it. There must be another way. Ning Rongrong still remembered the time when everyone had taken the sea god's test on the Holy Pillar. At that time, Wang Feng, as the White Pope Tiff, caused a sensation that was even more exaggerated than Tang San's. Tang San was the designated successor of the sea god. Therefore, in Ning Rongrong's opinion, Wang Feng must have rejected the sea god's deity position. Otherwise, there would be more than just the sea god's second trial. Furthermore, even if it was the second test of the sea god, it would still be very difficult. Wang Feng was far more difficult than the seven of them. This further proved that the sea god had favored Wang Feng back then, but Wang Feng had rejected him. It had to be said, even though Ning Rongrong's thoughts were a bit subjective, she came to the conclusion that the person she liked was the best in the world, but she actually guessed it right. Wang Feng really didn't think much of the ice god's deity position. Not only did Wang Feng look down on him, but Wang Feng also believed that he would not be able to inherit it. His angel of light and dark martial soul could absorb the power of the gods. It had already experienced 3 gods in a row. It could be said that all the gods had favored him. However, they couldn't inherit it for various reasons. Wang Feng believed that he could only rely on himself to integrate the 14 different types of origin energy contained in the angel of light and dark to condense an angel source core. Only then could he become the first deity position. However, just as Ning Rongrong finished speaking, the next moment, the palace trembled. Everyone felt countless ripples on the watery ground under their feet. Countless transparent water streams condensed in front of them like tornadoes and waterfalls. The tornado, which was dozens of meters tall, instantly condensed into ice from the bottom. It looked extremely shocking. However, at that moment, a cold voice sounded. How arrogant! Looks like I've been sleeping for too long. I didn't know that humans are so frivolous and ignorant. You don't even care about the ice god and the ice god who once saved the world. the moment the cold voice sounded, the giant tornado that had condensed into ice suddenly broke. In the next moment, the broken tornado turned into countless icicles and attacked Ning Rongrong and the others. The cold voice was obviously filled with intense anger. Uncle Bing Mu, stop. Shui Bing, O's expression changed. The soul rings on her body shone. Of the 8 soul rings, 2 of them were actually 100,000-year soul rings. There was no lack of soul rings in this place. A small portion of the soul beasts that were frozen outside hadn't died completely. They were extremely powerful soul beasts that had a certain level of confidence in their own abilities. They despised this place and were extremely greedy. They craved power. The Azure Ice Divine Phoenix was attached to Shui Bing, Er's body. A faint shadow appeared on her body, and an ice flower flickered between her eyebrows. An ice flower that dazzled the world appeared in Shui Bing Er's hands. Endless ice walls rose from the ground. Whoosh! With the momentum of tearing through space, the icicles that came like a rain of arrows instantly pierced through the ice wall that was dozens of meters high, making crashing sounds. However, those icicles instantly broke through Shui Bing Er's defense. Shui Bing Er's expression changed, and she turned slightly pale. Countless arrows bypassed her and Shui Er and directly covered Ning Rongrong and the others. The situation in the blink of an eye stunned everyone. Who asked you to be so arrogant? Wang Feng glared at Ning Rongrong. Although he had the same thoughts as Ning Rongrong, he couldn't say it out loud. After all, this was the land of inheritance of the water god. It was inappropriate to say such things. However, Rongrong was used to being arrogant. I'll shut your mouth sooner or later. Wang Feng looked at Ning Rongrong, who was hiding behind him like a quail. Seeing the countless icicles coming towards them, Wang Feng released a black lotus in his hand. A black light barrier enveloped everyone. The icicles, which could easily kill a tidal Dalu, pierced through space and landed on the black light barrier. However, they were turned into nothing. Every icicle exploded on the light barrier formed by the black lotus, and they exploded with terrifying strength. She only made a slip of the tongue. She didn't underestimate the ice and water gods. Wang Feng frowned and shouted, Qilin Lord Bing Mu, why do you have to be so calculative with a human girl? The ice and water gods were considered gods who had benefited the world, just like the angel god and the sea god. Speaking of which, they had contributed greatly to the world. That was why they could become gods. Wang Feng wasn't arrogant to the point of looking down on them. What a human. No wonder Bing acknowledged you as the ice and water gods. A faint voice sounded. In front of the statues of the ice and water gods, a figure suddenly appeared after the huge tornado exploded. It was a soul beast standing on 2 legs. In a chapter. Chapter 960. Its entire body was icy blue, similar to Yaya's body. However, its head, nose, and mouth were icy blue. Its deep blue eyes had no pupils and were completely blue. It had a pair of sharp horns on its head and a pure white crown on its head. It exuded an aura that made countless soul beasts submit to it. It had wings on its back, and there were many blue ice patterns on its wings. They extended all the way to its 2 broad arms, as if they were one. At this moment, it was floating in mid-air. Its body seemed to be made of nature's essence, and it exuded a sense of beauty. It was as if it was an elemental spirit formed from all living things in the world. Its huge body was filled with tyrannical strength, and it controlled the power of absolute ice. Its streamlined body was much smaller than Long Xie's. It was only 7 to 8 meters tall. However, the aura it exuded was extremely strong. Long Xie was a pure-blooded dragon, and its body was known for its huge size. This Lin Lord Isima wasn't a dragon, but a true spirit of heaven and earth. It was similar to the Snow Empress, but it had lived for much longer than the Snow Empress. According to Shui Yu Er's history and the rumors of the extreme north, the land of the extreme north was created because of this Lin Lord Bing Mu. Later on, the ice and water gods created the absolute ice region to restrict Lin Lord Isimu's aura. Otherwise, the extreme north wouldn't have been able to survive. To be able to resist my attack, Lin Lord Isimu stared at Wang Feng. Human, your body contains an extremely terrifying and ancient power, but I won't let you off for insulting the ice and water gods. How dare a mere mortal violate the dignity of the ice and water gods? The ice and water gods were once his best friends. How could Lin Lord Isimu let a human off so easily if he dared to insult the ice and water gods? He wasn't a kind soul beast, but he was also an evil soul beast. After living for so long, it was difficult to judge this ancient soul beast based on pure kindness and evil. The soul beasts that were sealed in ice outside couldn't withstand his absolute ice power, and most of them died. Other than those soul beasts that barged in because of greed, there were also soul beasts that entered by mistake. However, he didn't let them off. Therefore, Lin Lord Isimu wasn't pure or evil. He had his own order and rules. Wang Feng could also sense an aura that was close to that of a god from this Lin Lord Isimu. He was as strong as Evil Dragon. He was only one step away from becoming a god, but he was still not a god. Logically speaking, Lin Lord Bingmu was once best friends with the ice and water gods, but they didn't become gods together. His cultivation should be sufficient. Unfortunately, Wang Feng had heard from Long Xie that the god realm didn't allow soul beasts to become gods, so even if they cultivated for 1,000,000 years, they wouldn't be able to take that step. That was one of the reasons why Long Xie was willing to attach itself to him. Since he could not become a god, he could only wait for Wang Feng to become a god and see if he could bring him along. Otherwise, he would be stuck for 1,000,000 years. Wang Feng frowned slightly. He didn't have the time to argue with Qilin Lord Isimu. These soul beasts were all extremely powerful. Without the power of a god, it would be difficult to kill them in their main arena. If they were outside, it would not be difficult for Wang Feng to kill him. This was similar to how Long Xie had been able to absorb evil thoughts in the Great Star Do Forest. If Wang Feng hadn't used the White Lotus to seal it, Long Xie might not have become his soul ring. He was now at rank 90. Although he didn't have a soul ring, he wanted to turn this Lin Lord Icy Emu into his soul ring. It would be too difficult. If he tried to force it, he would be met with great resistance. The greatest resistance would be the gods. Wang Feng suspected that if he tried to kill this Lin Lord Icy Emu, this place was the god palace of the ice and water gods. The ice and water gods would be able to sense it. If he angered them, they would come down and beat him up. Wang Feng didn't think he could resist the attacks of the two gods. Long Xie was different. Long Xie was alone and didn't have any backing. This Lin Lord Icy Emu had a backing. It was good friends with the ice and water gods. A soul beast with a god as its backing was naturally different. As he thought of this, Wang Feng said, "Lin Lord Icy Emu, we don't mean any harm. Wrong, and I can apologize for our slip of the tongue." He didn't want to become enemies with this Lin Lord Icy Emu. Moreover, the situation outside was even more urgent. It was better to leave first. Haha, apologies are the most laughable words of humans. If apologies were useful, the world would be peaceful. Why would there be so many conflicts? Lin Lord Icy Emu laughed coldly. Wang Feng frowned and said, "Then what do you want?" "Simple." Lin Lord Icy Emu pondered for a few seconds and said indifferently, "You and Bing will inherit the power of the ice and water gods. I won't pursue this matter and will send the two of you out safely." Wang Feng suspected that Lin Lord Icy Emu purposely appeared with this idea in mind. F*CK. Shui Bing blushed. She thought, Uncle Icy Emu is really too much. He even rejected me. Hee, sister, Uncle Icy Emu can see it too. Shui Yu whispered. He actually thinks highly of Wang Feng and wants to matchmake the two of you. Everyone was speechless. They thought this powerful Lin Lord Icy Emu would make some request. "Captain, why don't you reluctantly inherit the ice god's position?" Ma Hongjun scratched his nose and muttered in a low voice, "This inheritance of the godhood is also a free gift. Buy one, get one free Hongjun also realized something. That's right. Ost chuckled. Bai Qinxiang and Shun Lingqi were speechless. How can these two be so exaggerated? This is just a matter of two gods' positions. What do you mean by buy one get one free? Douluo stroked his beard and muttered, "This kid really is good luck with women." The three from the golden generation were also speechless. Wang Feng, why don't you give it a try? Ning Rongrong stopped talking and said softly, "It's all my fault for speaking nonsense." You still know? Wang Feng glared at her in annoyance. Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue and muttered in Wang Feng's ear, "I was wrong. Why don't I let you punish me when we get out, hee." Wang Feng, are you trying to shut me up? Wang Feng, his heart skipped a beat. She's getting more and more brazen, but I like it. After thinking for a long time, Wang Feng said slowly, "Linlord Icy Emu, I really can't inherit the water god's position. However, I can recommend someone. She should have the talent to inherit the god's position." Hearing this, it was Lord Icy Emu's turn to be stunned. The rest of the people were also stunned. "If you don't believe me, we can give it a try." Wang Feng had a smile on his face. He could sense that Lord Icy Emu didn't have any killing intent towards him. To a certain extent, Lord Icy Emu should be kind to him. Lord Icy Emu was just pretending. His motive was to let him inherit the water god's position. The reason was simple. Lord Icy Emu had told the Snow Empress to protect the extreme north. This meant that Lord Icy Emu wouldn't leave this region. However, he had feelings for the extreme north, which had been created because of him. Most of the soul beasts living in the extreme north were under his protection. Since he had cured the blood soul poison, he had saved the extreme north. Even if Lord Icy Emu wasn't a kind soul beast, he could at least distinguish between kindness and hatred. End of chapter. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.